Chapter 1934. Phaeton, come back. Phaeton did not have the immortal body, and he could not withstand the power of Supreme Shintian's territory. Sensing that he was severely injured, Yi Chunfeng immediately sent him back to the Qian Kuan realm to heal his injuries. At that moment, Shun Daoxiu, Shun Yogu, and Death God attacked together. They activated their territories at all costs and fought fiercely with Supreme Shintian's clones. Chaos Divine Wood, speed up the devouring. Yi Chunfeng saw that Shun Daoxiu and the other two were having a hard time fending off Supreme Shintian's clones. He controlled the Chaos Divine Wood to increase the devouring power and devour Tian Hong's energy. He was going to kill him and help Shun Daoxiu and the other two fight against Supreme Shintian's clones. Go to hell, you ants! Supreme Shintian roared furiously. His sky domain turned into a world of its own, shattering the domain of Shun Daoxiu and the other two. It sent them flying, leaving behind a large amount of blood mist in the air. Evil Ancestor at the peak was crushed by the terrifying impact, and his body fell to the ground. Too powerful. The difference between a half-step to empty god and an empty god is too big. When Yi Chunfeng saw Shun Daoxiu and the other two exploding like toddlers in front of Supreme Shintian's incarnation, the grave expression on his face grew denser. However, he still had a trump card that he had not used. He believed that as long as he used it well, he could kill Supreme Shintian's clones. Divine Demon Goblin Appearance. Spatial Black Hole. Endless Darkness. Suppressing their injuries, Shun Daoxiu and the other two attacked Supreme Shintian without any regard for their lives. However, the difference between their abilities and Supreme Shintian's was too big. With the help of Heaven Territory, Supreme Shintian's clones continued to dissolve Shun Daoxiu and the other two's attacks. Just as Shun Daoxiu and the other two were fighting Supreme Shintian, the Chaos Divine Wood finally devoured Tian Hong's Saint Nucleus and turned him into a mummy. He then formed 4 more precious Chaos Divine Fruits that contained a territory. After devouring Tian Hong, Yi Chunfeng did not hesitate. He immediately attacked Supreme Shintian together with Evil Ancestor at the peak of his physical body. Ancestral Dragon's Eye. Approaching Supreme God Heaven, Yi Chunfeng's forehead split open with the Ancestral Dragon's Eye. Billions of rays of light shot out, as if they were piercing through the universe, piercing through Supreme God Heaven. The light from the Ancestral Dragon's eyes closed in. After forcing Shun Daoxiu and the others to retreat, Supreme Shintian gently waved his arm. The entire space was distorted, and it directly shattered the light from the Ancestral Dragon's eyes. Invincible Sword Body, Invincible Sword. With the Ancestral Dragon's Eye broken, Yi Chunfeng disregarded his own safety and activated the Invincible Sword Body. He merged with the Ancestral Sword Spirit and turned himself into a sword. He slashed out an invincible sword, stirring up the momentum of heaven and earth as he slashed towards Supreme Shintian. Humph, an ant like you dares to attack me at close range? Supreme Shintian snorted coldly. His domain of heaven expanded infinitely, crushing the 3 domains that Shun Daoxiu and the others had created together. He attacked Yi Chunfeng with all his might, wanting to kill him and take the chaotic divine wood. Kacha! When Yi Chunfeng turned into an invincible divine sword and slashed at the domain of heaven, the invincible sword body and sword domain erupted at the same time. The terrifying sword might forcefully split open a crack in the domain of heaven. Next, the chaotic divine wood fell from the sky under the control of Yi Chunfeng's will, shattering the domain of heaven. The domain of heaven was broken by Yi Chunfeng using the invincible sword body and sword domain. Shun Daoxiu and the other two unleashed their strongest potential, deducing a powerful Dao. They attacked Supreme Shintian with extreme-grade ancestral artifact, wanting to take the opportunity to injure him. However, Supreme Shintian's avatar was too terrifying. Shun Daoxiu and the other two's strongest attacks were weakened by the domain of heaven. They couldn't injure him at all. Domain of Heaven, repair. Seeing Yi Chunfeng close in, Supreme Shintian forcefully repaired the domain of heaven and swallowed Yi Chunfeng. He controlled the powerful domain power to launch a fatal attack at him. Path of Equipment Manipulation, Divine Sword Devour Heaven. At the critical moment, Yi Chunfeng summoned the Divine Sword Devour Heaven and unleashed the Path of Equipment Manipulation. He activated the strongest attack of the Divine Sword Devour Heaven and slashed at Supreme Shintian's avatar. Void God Artifact. You actually have an Void God Artifact. Looking at the mysterious divine runes that lit up on the Divine Sword Devour Heaven and feeling the explosive power of the Divine Sword Devour Heaven, Supreme Shintian was in disbelief. He instinctively wanted to dodge. However, he was too close to Yi Chunfeng and couldn't dodge at all. He could only watch as the Divine Sword Devour Heaven tore through layers of domain power and slashed at his body. Chi. As the Divine Sword Devour Heaven slashed down, a bottomless sword mark appeared in the valley. Although Supreme Shintian's avatar was strong, he couldn't withstand the attack of the Divine Sword Devour Heaven. His body was slashed open by the sword and the imprint on his body dimmed. Bang! Although the Divine Sword Devour Heaven slashed open Supreme Shintian, Yi Chunfeng's body was also destroyed by the terrifying domain power at the same time. Undying Divine Power, repair. In the blink of an eye, Yi Chunfeng relied on his strong will and used the Undying Divine Power to repair his broken body. He then summoned the Chaos Divine Wood. Chaos Divine Wood, devour. Under the control of Yi Chunfeng's will, the Chaos Divine Wood extended tens of thousands of five-colored roots and took root in Supreme Shintian's avatar. They crazily devoured the energy in his body. You want to devour me? You're still far from it. Supreme Shintian relied on the imprint on his body to forcefully repair his broken body. He then controlled the powerful heavenly territory to attack the five-colored root. The three of you, quickly swallow this elixir and suppress Supreme Shintian with all your might. Seeing a large number of five-colored roots being torn apart by Supreme Shintian, Yi Chunfeng immediately took out 3 elixirs that had great side effects but could increase one's strength in a short period of time and gave them to Shin Daoshu and the other 2. All right. Shin Daoshu and the other 2 didn't hesitate and quickly swallowed the 3 black elixirs. They overdrew their bodies and forcefully increased their strength to suppress Supreme Shintian together. Primitive Tao Fetus, Peak Evil Ancestor, follow me to suppress Supreme Shintian. While Shin Daoshu and the other 2 were exhausting themselves to suppress the Supreme Divine Heaven, Yi Chunfeng summoned the primitive Tao embryo of a 6-star Tao ancestor and summoned the severely injured Peak Stage Evil Ancestor to form a sword domain and suppress him with all his might. Under the suppression of Yi Chunfeng and the others, cracks appeared on Supreme Shintian's heavenly territory. The speed of tearing the 5-colored roots was getting slower and slower. Divine Sword Devouring Heaven / Yi Chunfeng was multitasking. He controlled the endless Tao power in his body and infused it into the Devouring Heaven sword. He then controlled the Devouring Heaven sword to slash at Supreme Shintian. Although Yi Chunfeng had the primordial blood, he was still a 2-star Tao ancestor. Using the Void God weapon to attack consecutively still put him under great pressure and damaged his body. However, at this moment, he couldn't care less. If he couldn't kill Supreme Shintian's avatar, what awaited them was death. Chi. The Divine Sword Devouring Heaven slashed down and the heavenly territory shattered. Supreme Shintian's broken body was once again slashed apart. Suppress with all your might. When Supreme Shintian's body was split into 2, Yi Chunfeng and the others each suppressed half of Supreme Shintian's body. They cut off the connection and didn't give him a chance to repair his body. Under the suppression of Yi Chunfeng and the others, the mark on the avatar grew dimmer and dimmer. In the end, the chaotic divine wood pierced through it and swallowed all the power of the mark. Chapter 1935. Phew, I've finally killed Supreme Shintian's external embodiment. Yi Chunfeng heaved a sigh of relief as he looked at his external embodiment that had turned into dust. This battle was extremely fierce. If it weren't for the sky-devouring sword, Yi Chunfeng and the rest wouldn't have had a chance to turn the situation around. This also allowed him to see how terrifying Supreme Shintian was. His external embodiment alone had the strength of an empty god. Yi Chunfeng didn't dare to imagine how terrifying his real body was. 6 Chaotic Divine Fruits. Ancestor Fa Tian and Evil Ancestor Peak Peak were severely injured. Shin Daoshu and the other 2 were exhausted and wouldn't be able to fight for a while. However, Yi Chunfeng and the rest had gained a lot. Not only did they obtain the 2 supreme ancestral artifacts, the returning ancestral hammer and the dark ancestral hook, but the chaotic divine wood had also formed 14 chaotic divine fruit. The 6 chaotic divine fruits that the chaotic divine wood had formed after devouring Supreme Shintian's external embodiment were extremely precious as they contained almost complete territory intent. Fa Tian and Peak Evil Ancestor, I'll give you the supreme ancestral artifacts, returning ancestral hammer, dark ancestral hook and 2 chaotic divine fruits. Yi Chunfeng wasn't stingy. He gave the 2 supreme ancestral artifacts that he had obtained from killing Tianhong and the chaotic divine fruits that contained part of the territory intent to Fa Tian and Peak Evil Ancestor to increase their attack power. Then, Yi Chunfeng took out 3 chaotic divine fruits that contained almost complete territory and gave them to Shin Daoshu and the other 2 so that they could comprehend Supreme Shintian's territory and increase their chances of breaking through to the empty god realm. Primal Chaos, Spiritual Fish, Patterned Butterfly, Peacock King, Senior Torch Dragon, these 5 chaos divine fruits are for you. Yi Chunfeng gave the Primal Chaos Divine Beasts 5 Chaos Divine Fruits each. Alright, everyone, speed up your cultivation in the Qiankuan realm and try to break through as soon as possible. After distributing the spoils of war, Yi Chunfeng consumed a Chaos Divine Fruit that contained a portion of the domain. He healed his injuries and left the universe realm. He took the 10 ancient ancestral flags in the valley and flew away at an extremely fast speed. Just as Yi Chunfeng disappeared into the endless mountains outside Xingu City, a deafening explosion rang out in Xingu City. The sound was so loud that it spread for millions of li, shaking the entire Xingu City as if there was an earthquake. The human emperor used a powerful trump card, raising his own strength to an unimaginable level. He slashed apart Supreme Shintian's doppelganger, ending this unprecedented battle. However, even though the human emperor and the others had joined forces to kill Supreme Shintian's doppelganger, Supreme Shintian's doppelganger was too terrifying. They had all suffered varying degrees of injuries. They all brought their experts and left Ancient Sage City, returning to their respective factions to heal their injuries. The Dead Sea was located at the edge of the demon region. It was a desolate place where very few people stepped foot into. Legend had it that the Dead Sea was a sacred place in the past. The sea gave birth to millions of living beings, and there were many hidden opportunities at the bottom of the sea. It was a place that everyone yearned for. However, in ancient times, the various races had engaged in an unprecedented battle in the Dead Sea, destroying all the living beings in the sea, turning the Sea of Life into the Dead Sea. There were even ghosts wandering in the sea that could not be driven away, enough to threaten divine-grade experts. Coupled with the fact that the space in the sea was fragile and abnormally dangerous, very few people were willing to step foot into this place. "You're going to the Dead Sea too?" When Yi Chunfeng, who had changed his appearance and aura, walked out of the wormhole, a woman wearing a black martial arts suit that accentuated her voluptuous body walked to Yi Chunfeng's side and asked softly. She had light makeup on her face, and her facial features were exquisite. She wore long, slender legs and walked over to Yi Chunfeng. Yi Chunfeng glanced at the woman in black who had taken the initiative to approach him on the flywheel and nodded. "I'm going to the Dead Sea too." Why don't we go together? The woman in black revealed a charming smile, and blinked her big eyes at Yi Chunfeng as she took the initiative to ask. Okay. Yi Chunfeng looked deeply at the woman in black and did not refuse. He flew in the direction of the Dead Sea with her. The closer they got to the Dead Sea, the lower the temperature became. Yi Chunfeng's sharp senses could clearly sense a cold aura in the air. It was drilling into his body through his pores and corroding his flesh. However, Yi Chunfeng was so powerful that he only needed to circulate his ancestral power to disperse the cold aura that had drilled into his body. He continued to fly in the direction of the Dead Sea. The woman in black beside Yi Chunfeng did not seem to be affected by the cold aura. Her speed did not decrease as she followed beside Yi Chunfeng. By the way, what's your name? As they slowly approached the Dead Sea, the woman in black took the initiative to approach Yi Chunfeng and asked softly. From her expression, one could tell that she was very interested in Yi Chunfeng. Feng Chen. Yi Chunfeng casually made up a name. Feng Chen, why are you going to the Dead Sea? Don't tell me you're going there to train like me. After knowing Yi Chunfeng's name, the woman in black seemed to be very happy and continued to ask. Are you really going to the Dead Sea to train? Yi Chunfeng turned his head and glanced at her restricted facial features, then asked with a deep meaning. Of course. Otherwise, why would I go to the Dead Sea? The woman in black's eyes flickered. I thought you were going to the Dead Sea to wait for someone? Yi Chunfeng smiled and ignored the woman in black whose eyelids twitched. He continued to fly in the direction of the Dead Sea. Boom, boom, boom. As they approached the Dead Sea, Yi Chunfeng could clearly hear the sound of waves crashing against the reef. Through the gradually dimming light, Yi Chunfeng saw a black mass in the distance that stretched as far as the eye could see. Feng Chen, I heard that the Dead Sea is very dangerous at night. Why don't we rest at the shore for a night and train in the Dead Sea the next morning? After arriving at the shore of the Dead Sea, the woman in black took the initiative to suggest as she looked at the pitch-black Dead Sea that contained unknown dangers. Sure. Let's rest here for a night. Yi Chunfeng nodded his head and agreed. He sat cross-legged on the fine shore of the Dead Sea and adjusted his breathing in silence. After a while, a mouth-watering aroma of meat wafted over from afar. Yi Chunfeng opened his eyes and saw that the woman in black had caught a strange fish out of nowhere. She was roasting it on a rack. Feng Chen, I think you're hungry too. Come and eat. Seeing Yi Chunfeng open his eyes, the woman in black revealed a faint smile and said, This black striped shark can only be found in the Dead Sea. You can't eat it outside. No need, I'm not hungry. Looking at the woman in black who was kneeling on the ground with her but sticking out in a seductive posture, Yi Chunfeng was unmoved and closed his eyes again. Feng Chen, do you have a dual cultivation partner? Yi Chunfeng's rejection did not discourage the woman in black. She held the golden roasted fish, and came to Yi Chunfeng's side and asked softly. Yi Chunfeng opened his eyes and looked at the woman in black's delicate face and asked calmly, Why are you asking this? If you don't have a dual cultivation partner, how about I be your partner? The woman in black revealed a charming smile and said seductively, I don't like scheming bitches. Yi Chunfeng shook his head and said coldly. The woman in black did not expect Yi Chunfeng to say such nasty words and her face changed instantly. Why? Do you think I'm wrong? Or are you angry because I saw through your thoughts? Yi Chunfeng smiled and said, Actually, you really shouldn't scheme against me. Because scheming against me is equivalent to scheming against the Grim Reaper. You will die without a doubt. What do you mean? The woman in black pretended to be calm and asked. Chapter 1936. You saw through me long ago? The black-clothed lady quickly took a few steps back and looked at Yi Chunfeng in disbelief. The black-clothed lady was an ancestor realm expert of the Fox Demon clan. Her illusory skills were superb, and very few people could see through her illusions and see her true body. I saw through you when I entered the wormhole, Yi Chunfeng said indifferently. I'm just wondering how you found out about me. Let this ancestor answer you. The Golden Rock great demonic ancestor, who was wearing a dark golden robe and a towering crown, appeared in the dark night. Hume is the ape god's woman. She's familiar with all of the ape god's techniques and imprints. So that's how it is. Yi Chunfeng smiled faintly and said, I'll return the favor. I'll give the ape god a gift too. With that, the black-clothed lady's face revealed a large number of poison spots. Her delicate skin shriveled at a speed visible to the naked eye, and she collapsed to the ground. Poison, you poison me! The black-clothed lady tried her best to suppress the poison in her body, but she realized that she couldn't suppress it. She revealed a terrified expression. Don't be so smug. I poisoned you too. If you don't give me the antidote, I'll take you down with me. Hey, didn't they tell you what I have? With the Chaos Divine Wood, Yi Chunfeng wasn't afraid of any poison. The poison that the black-clothed lady gave Yi Chunfeng had already been devoured by the Chaos Divine Wood. You're courting death. The Golden Rock great demonic ancestor was enraged. He turned into a golden light and attacked Yi Chunfeng. The Golden Rock great demonic ancestor's speed was the fastest in the Void God world. However, with the God-Eater brain's perception, Yi Chunfeng predicted it in advance. He used the sword steps and dodged 100 meters away, dodging the Golden Rock great demonic ancestor's attack. Yi Chunfeng, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. The black-clothed lady, whose skin began to fester and poisonous blood flowed out of her body, was in despair and shouted in pain. Being a ghost isn't that easy. Yi Chunfeng would never show mercy to his enemies. He tapped the air with his finger, interweaving a sharp sword light and attacking the black-robed woman, directly crushing her soul, causing her soul to dissipate. Yi Chunfeng, you deserve to die. The Golden Rock demon ancestor was completely enraged after seeing Yi Chunfeng shatter the ape. He let out an angry roar and a pair of golden wings broke out of his body. They quickly flapped and created tornadoes to attack Yi Chunfeng. Grand Mist Bloodline Ignition, Invincible Sword Body. Yi Chunfeng immediately ignited his Grand Mist Bloodline and turned into the most powerful invincible sword body. He turned into an invincible divine sword that intertwined with the 4 ancestral Tao diagrams and slashed towards the demon ancestor. Although there was an insurmountable gap between Yi Chunfeng and the Golden Rock ancestral martial ancestor, the offensive power of the invincible sword body was too terrifying. Coupled with the amplification of the ancestral martial ancestor's sword spirit, his sword slashed through the space like a dazzling Milky Way, slashing towards the Golden Rock ancestral martial ancestor. Boom! Yi Chunfeng turned into a sword. The sword light slashed down and collided with the arrows in the demon ancestor's wings, creating endless sparks in the air. Amen, you actually blocked this ancestor's attack. The demon ancestor was surprised that Yi Chunfeng, whose cultivation was far below him, could actually neutralize his attack. Primitive Tao embryo, come out. When Yi Chunfeng clashed head-on with the Golden Rock ancestral patriarch, he was so shaken that his blood and qi started to churn. He sensed that it was impossible for him to defeat a peak-level Yao with his current strength, so he immediately summoned his 6-star Tao ancestor primitive Tao embryo. Shin Daoshu, Grim Reaper, and the others were severely injured from the battle with Supreme Shintian's external incarnation. Yi Chunfeng did not disturb them. 6-star primitive Tao embryo. Kid, you are surprising me more and more. However, you must die for daring to ruin the plan of Supreme Shintian clan leader. Golden Rock transformed into his strongest battle form. His strength had also surpassed the limit of 6-star demon ancestor and reached the half-step virtual god realm. Heavenly Territory. Golden Rock activated his powerful Heavenly Territory and trapped Yi Chunfeng inside. He wanted to use the Heavenly Territory to kill Yi Chunfeng. Humph, you want to kill me with an incomplete Heavenly Territory? Yi Chunfeng snorted and activated his sword territory. He crushed the suppression of the heavenly territory and took control of the area. Territory, a complete heavenly territory, how did you do it? Golden Rock stared at Yi Chunfeng with his eyes wide open. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. Primitive Tao embryo, kill him! Yi Chunfeng ordered loudly. The primitive Tao embryo held the life and death plate. The black demonic plate entered the heavenly territory and attacked Golden Rock Demon Ancestor. What is your relationship with the immortal Demon Ancestor? Golden Rock Demon Ancestor's face darkened when he saw the life and death plate of the immortal Demon Ancestor in the hands of the primitive Tao embryo. Golden Rock, don't you think you talk too much nonsense? Yi Chunfeng snorted and activated his sword territory to the greatest extent. He attacked the heavenly territory with all his might to weaken the influence of the heavenly territory on the primitive Tao embryo. Boom! Boom! Under the primitive Tao embryo's attacks, the space in front of the Golden Rock Forefather continued to shatter. However, the Golden Rock Forefather's strength was too terrifying, and the limit golden crown on his head could amplify his offensive and defensive power, blocking the attacks of the two high-grade ancestral artifacts. Yi Chunfeng did not use the Divine Sword Devourer, as he was afraid that Golden Rock Demon Ancestor's speed would be too fast and the Heaven-Devouring Sword would fail. Then, it would be difficult to sneak up on Golden Rock Demon Ancestor. Domain of Swords Smash. Golden Rock Demon Ancestor relied on his powerful strength and the extreme golden crown to neutralize the attacks of the primitive Tao embryo. Yi Chunfeng controlled the sword territory to crash into the heavenly territory. Boom! The two domains collided, and the resulting shockwaves caused the space around them to collapse. However, the primitive Tao embryo was not affected at all. It continued to attack Golden Rock Demon Ancestor with the Life and Death Plate and the Black Demonic Plate. Extreme speed. Enduring the backlash of the heavenly territory, Golden Rock Demon Ancestor reverted to his true form and increased his speed to the maximum. He dodged the primitive Tao embryo's attacks and flew towards Yi Chunfeng. 3,000 God-transforming fists. The God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, captured the attack trajectory of the Golden Rock Grand Elder. Yi Chunfeng immediately blasted out 3,000 destructive fists towards the Golden Rock Grand Elder. The fists, which contained billions of gene of power, attacked the Golden Rock Grand Elder like a meteor shower. Penetrate! Golden Rock Demon Ancestor did not dodge the 3,000 God-transforming fists. He turned into a streak of golden light and pierced through the destructive fists, approaching Yi Chunfeng. Chaos Divine Wood. At this critical moment, Yi Chunfeng summoned his natal treasure, the Chaos Divine Wood, and used it to block in front of him. He also cracked open the ancestral dragon's eye on his forehead and looked at Golden Rock Demon Ancestor. However, under the maximum amplification of the Golden Crown, the Golden Rock Ancestral Demon's attack power was too terrifying. After a series of collisions, the ancestral dragon's eyes were broken. The Golden Rock Ancestral Demon slammed into the Chaos Divine Wood that was constantly expanding, creating a powerful vibration that impacted Yi Chunfeng's body, causing his qi and blood to churn. Golden Rock Demon Ancestor used his extreme speed to injure Yi Chunfeng. The primitive Tao embryo immediately turned back to save him. However, Golden Rock Demon Ancestor was too fast. The primitive Tao embryo's attacks could not even touch him. Just as Yi Chunfeng was hesitating whether to summon the Divine Sword Swallowing Sky to attack, he suddenly felt a powerful aura surging out of the Universal Mirror. Chapter 1937. The Demonic Ancestor has broken through to half-step virtual god. Yi Chunfeng summoned the Demonic Ancestor as soon as he sensed the Demonic Ancestor's improvement in strength. He wanted to fight the Golden Rock Demonic Ancestor. Half-step demon god. Sensing the Demonic Ancestor's strength, the Golden Rock Demonic Ancestor's face darkened. His demonic aura surged as he stabbed the ultimate golden spear at the demonic ancestor. The demonic ancestor turned into a beam of light, and the demonic ancestor immediately summoned the supreme ancestral weapon, the ancestral hammer. Whoosh! The ultimate golden spear pierced through the demonic ancestor's body, while the ancestral hammer in the demonic ancestor's hand smashed into the demonic ancestor's body. However, the ancestral hammer only slightly injured the demonic ancestor under the ultimate golden crown's defense. However, the demonic ancestor's body was smashed into the ground by the terrifying ancestral hammer, creating a huge crater. The demonic ancestor glanced at the demonic ancestor who was smashed into the ground. The demonic ancestor immediately activated his immortal blood to quickly heal the ultimate golden spear. The ancestral hammer. Why do you have Grand Elder Tianhong's ancestral hammer? The demonic ancestor flew out of the deep crater. He looked at the ancestral hammer in the demonic ancestor's hand, and an unbelievable thought flashed through his mind. I killed Tianhong. Of course, his supreme ancestral weapon is mine. Yi Chunfeng did not hide anything and said calmly. Impossible. Grand Elder Tianhong is a half-step virtual god. How could he be killed by you? The demonic ancestor did not believe Yi Chunfeng at all. Why? Are you so shocked that I killed Tianhong? Yi Chunfeng smiled and said, Would you be scared to death if I told you that I even killed the avatar of Supreme Divine Heaven? Brat, don't spout nonsense here. This ancestor won't believe your nonsense. In the Golden Rock ancestral demon's heart, Supreme Shintian was a god. Otherwise, the Golden Rock ancestral demon wouldn't have submitted to him. Therefore, the Golden Rock ancestral demon didn't believe that Yi Chunfeng had the strength to kill Supreme Shintian's external incarnation. If you have the life to leave, you can personally ask the Supreme Divine Heaven. However, he might not admit it. Yi Chunfeng smiled and attacked the Golden Rock Great Ancestor with the primitive Tao fetus and the half-step evil god. They fought fiercely in the air. Sword domain / As he approached the Golden Rock Great Ancestor, Yi Chunfeng immediately activated his sword domain. He controlled the sword domain to condense it into an invincible sword slash that slashed towards the Golden Rock Great Ancestor. While the Golden Rock Forefather controlled his celestial domain to form a spatial vortex to block the domain slash, the half-step evil god and the primitive Tao embryo attacked him from the left and right, clashing fiercely with his golden wings. Fighting 1 against 3, the Golden Rock demonic ancestor felt immense pressure. He had no choice but to activate the power of the extreme golden crown to increase his strength. He relied on his absolute speed to withstand the attacks of Yi Chunfeng and the other two. Evil God Domain. When Golden Rock demonic ancestor transformed into several afterimages, the half-step evil god activated his powerful evil god domain and instantly shattered the afterimages of Golden Rock demonic ancestor, exerting immense pressure on him. Golden Rock demonic ancestor found it difficult to withstand the complete sword domain. Now that he was attacked by the half-step evil god's domain, the pressure on him was even greater. The dark golden feathers that covered his body were constantly shattered by the two domains. His attacks were also suppressed and could not pose a threat to Yi Chunfeng. Screech. Extreme Rock Shadow. With his attacks suppressed, Golden Rock demonic ancestor went berserk. He activated his powerful bloodline and instantly transformed into several extreme rock shadows. He fought fiercely with Yi Chunfeng and the others. Chaos Divine Wood Break. Yi Chunfeng summoned the Chaos Divine Wood. He controlled the Chaos Divine Wood to sway its 5-colored crown and distort the entire space, constantly shattering the extreme rock shadows. However, the difference in strength between Yi Chunfeng and Golden Rock demonic ancestor was too great. Every time the Chaos Divine Wood shattered an extreme rock shadow, Yi Chunfeng was under immense pressure. He could not help but spurt out mouthfuls of blood. Go to hell, brat! Seeing Yi Chunfeng spurting out blood, Golden Rock demonic ancestor suddenly accelerated. His entire body turned into a streak of light. He tore through the primitive Tao fetus and the half-step evil god's attacks with extreme speed and launched a fatal attack at Yi Chunfeng. Want to kill me? You're not enough. Golden Rock demonic ancestor was getting closer and closer. However, Yi Chunfeng did not dodge. Seeing that Golden Rock demonic ancestor's fatal attack was about to land on Yi Chunfeng's body, he summoned the Divine Sword Devourer and used the equipment controlling Tao. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Under the activation of the equipment controlling Tao, the mysterious divine patterns on the surface of the Divine Sword Devourer lit up. An ancient and eternal energy surged out from the Divine Sword Devourer. It shook the entire space and caused it to shatter. Golden Rock demonic ancestor sensed a strong sense of danger. This is a virtual god weapon. You actually have a virtual god weapon. Feeling the destructive energy from the Divine Sword Devourer, Golden Rock demonic ancestor's heart trembled. He instinctively wanted to dodge. However, he was too fast and too close to Yi Chunfeng. He could not dodge in time and could only face the attack with all his might. Life-blood ignition, ultimate golden crown's strongest amplitude. Unable to dodge the fatal attack from the Divine Sword Devourer, Golden Rock demonic ancestor had no choice but to burn his life-blood and maximize the ultimate golden crown to forcefully raise his strength to the virtual god realm. However, the moment he used the ultimate golden crown to break through to the virtual god realm, the Divine Sword Devourer combined the sword territory, invincible sword body, ancestral sword soul, and Yi Chunfeng's ancestral force to unleash a destructive sword attack towards Golden Rock demonic ancestor. Crack! The extreme golden crown of the avian clan cracked after receiving the invincible attack of the Divine Sword devouring the heavens. The terrifying sword power poured down like a silver river and smashed Golden Rock demon forefather's body, directly shattering it. Immortal blood repair. Golden Rock demonic ancestor had submitted to Supreme Shintian and received the immortal blood as a reward. With the power of the immortal blood, he forcefully repaired his body that had been split open by the Divine Sword Devourer. However, the power of the Divine Sword Devourer was too terrifying. Golden Rock demonic ancestor had almost used up all the immortal blood in his body to repair his broken body. He burned his powerful blood and fled in fear. On the other hand, Yi Chunfeng was hit by the aftershock and his body was also filled with crack. He could not stop Golden Rock demonic ancestor and could only watch him escape. Let's go to the Death Sea. Yi Chunfeng did not know if there were any peak demon clan almighties near the Death Sea. He hid in the Qianquan realm to recuperate and let half-step evil god bring the Qianquan realm into the Death Sea to search for the Death Cave hidden in the depths of the Death Sea. Not long after Yi Chunfeng and the rest entered the Death Sea, an even more terrifying aura appeared. The mighty ape, whose speed was not as fast as Golden Rock demonic ancestor, appeared outside the Death Sea with a few ancestral realm almighties of the Beast Clan. Chapter 1938. There are so many spirits. Yi Chunfeng consumed an incomparably precious supreme-grade heaven-reaching Saint Pellet and adjusted his breathing for a period of time in a space with a 30 times faster flow of time. After healing his injuries, he left the universe realm and arrived at the Death Sea that was as dark as ink and filled with dense death chi. He discovered that there were a large number of wandering spirits in the Death Sea. To an ordinary person, the spirits in the Death Sea were definitely nightmares. They would be doomed if they encountered them. However, they were the best tonic for the God-Eater brain. As the situation in the virtual God world became more chaotic, Yi Chunfeng urgently needed the God-Eater brain to continue growing the Soul Eater brain so that it could control half-step to virtual gods and even almighties to deal with any trouble that might arise. God-Eater brain, devour! Yi Chunfeng summoned the God-Eater brain and controlled it to turn into a black hole. It released a powerful devouring force to devour the spirits that were close to it. Where is the Cave of Death? Yi Chunfeng did not know the exact location of the Cave of Death. It was not easy to find the Cave of Death in the vast Death Sea. Oh right, the mark. After thinking for a while, Yi Chunfeng thought of the mark that was left on his body after passing the spirit tribe assessment. Perhaps he could sense the Cave of Death through the mark. Yi Chunfeng closed his eyes and slowly inserted ancestral power into the spirit tribe mark in his body. He activated the power of the spirit tribe mark and sensed the Cave of Death's location. Nothing. Yi Chunfeng activated the spirit tribe mark and sensed for a while, but there was still nothing. However, he was not discouraged. He controlled the God-Eater brain to devour the spirits in the Death Sea while he searched for the Cave of Death. Time flew by and soon a month had passed. In the month, the God-Eater brain had devoured many spirits in the Death Sea and had split a large number of brain cells. However, as the God-Eater brain became more powerful, it needed more energy to evolve into a subbrain. After devouring tens of thousands of spirits, the God-Eater brain showed no signs of evolving. There's the aura of a living being in front. While Yi Chunfeng was traveling at high speed at the bottom of the Death Sea, he finally sensed the aura of a living being in an oceanic trench that was unfathomably deep. This living being was the first one he had encountered in the past month. Whoosh! Yi Chunfeng suddenly accelerated. He tore through the black seawater and entered the bottomless trench. He flew toward the aura of living beings that the God-Eater brain had sensed. What kind of creature is this? Flying to the bottom of the trench, Yi Chunfeng saw a huge shell the size of a house. Inside the shell, there was a powerful life force. Human? Is there a human in this shell? When the God-Eater brain, which was rapidly making deductions, penetrated the giant shell, Yi Chunfeng was surprised to discover that the shell contained the aura of a human. Why is there a person here? Filled with curiosity, Yi Chunfeng arrived at the giant shell. He erupted with hundreds of billions of gene of strength and forcefully pried open the giant shell. He saw an old face with only half a body and both legs fused together with the shell. Who are you? Sensing the light shining from the moonlight stones, the old face slowly opened its eyes. It looked at Yi Chunfeng, who was opening the shell, and asked softly, "What are you doing?" "I'm just a passerby. I have no ill intentions towards you." Yi Chunfeng looked at the old man who didn't have a strong aura and said indifferently, "I'm just here to inquire about a place." Passerby. The old man looked deeply at Yi Chunfeng and said, "I have already forgotten how long it has been since I last saw a human. Don't have any extravagant hopes for the Dead Sea. Everything here has been destroyed. There are no more opportunities." The old man shook his head. "I didn't come to the Dead Sea to look for great opportunities. I came here to find a place called the Cave of Death. Do you know where it is?" Yi Chunfeng asked. Cave of Death. The old man's eyes trembled. He looked at Yi Chunfeng and said, "Are you also the inheritor of the spirit race?" "What, you too?" Yi Chunfeng said in surprise when he saw the old man's shocked expression. "I don't know how strong you are, but let me give you a piece of advice. Don't go to the Cave of Death. If you go, you won't be able to come back." The old man sighed deeply. "Why is that? Could it be that the Cave of Death is very dangerous?" Yi Chunfeng asked in surprise. "I don't know how terrifying the Cave of Death is, but I know that no one who entered the Cave of Death has ever come out alive." The old man fell into deep thought and said, "Not a single person came out?" Yi Chunfeng raised his eyebrows. He was deeply shocked. "That's right. Not a single person came out." The old man nodded and said without hesitation, "So if you don't want to die, it's best not to go to the Cave of Death." "Sir, I must go to the Cave of Death. If you know where it is, I will definitely reward you generously." Yi Chunfeng knew that the more dangerous a place was, the more likely it was to hide a great opportunity. He took a deep breath and promised. "Reward?" The old man's dead eyes shone with light. I can give you a piece of rebirth wood to help you reconstruct your body. I can also give you a supreme-grade heaven-reaching holy pill and a warship so that you can leave this place, Yi Chenfeng said. Since you have so many treasures, why must you go to the Cave of Death? You have to know that if you enter the Cave of Death, there's a high chance that you won't be able to come back alive. The old man suppressed the excitement in his heart and reminded him kindly. Don't worry, I have confidence in myself, Yi Chenfeng said confidently. All right, since you insist on going to the Cave of Death, I'll tell you the location of the Cave of Death. I hope you can come out alive. As he spoke, the old man fell into deep thought and told Yi Chenfeng the location of the Cave of Death. Thank you. After memorizing the location of the Cave of Death, Yi Chenfeng immediately took out a piece of incomparably precious rebirth wood, a supreme-grade heaven-reaching holy pill, and a warship with extremely strong defense, and gave them to the old man. I wish you good luck. I hope that we can meet again one day. Looking at the gifts that Yi Chenfeng gave him, the old man could no longer hold back the excitement in his heart. His soul directly entered the rebirth wood. After bidding farewell to the old man, Yi Chenfeng immediately set up the route that the old man told him and flew in the direction of the Cave of Death. Around 5 days later, Yi Chenfeng suddenly felt an indescribable reaction from the spirit tribe mark in his body. He was delighted and immediately flew in the direction of the Cave of Death. Soon, Yi Chenfeng discovered an oceanic trench that stretched for an unknown number of miles ahead. It was like the mouth of hell, and through the mark, Yi Chenfeng basically confirmed that the spirit tribe's ultimate inheritance, the Cave of Death, was hidden in this oceanic trench. An illusion. After flying into the oceanic trench, Yi Chenfeng discovered that the oceanic trench was filled with a powerful illusion that constantly confused him. However, Yi Chenfeng had cultivated the illusion Dao insight to the ancestral diagram level, so he ignored the erosion of the illusion and quickly arrived at the depths of the oceanic trench. He discovered a faintly discernible spatial entrance that had merged into one with the night sky, and there were many skeletons scattered around the spatial entrance. Judging from the size of these skeletons, these caves came from various races. Cave of Death, I've finally found you. Looking at the black spatial entrance, Yi Chenfeng didn't hesitate at all. His body flashed, and he entered the spatial entrance like an arrow that had been released from a bow. And the moment he entered the spatial entrance, the spirit tribe mark on his body strangely disappeared. What a powerful spatial pressure! After entering the spatial entrance, Yi Chenfeng immediately felt a frightening spatial power surging in from all directions, constantly squeezing his body. However, Yi Chenfeng had cultivated the invincible sword physique, and his entire body was like the ancestral sword. A mere spatial pressure couldn't affect him at all. Withstanding the increasingly powerful spatial pressure, Yi Chenfeng continued to increase his speed. Soon, he passed through the spatial tunnel and entered the Cave of Death, the ultimate inheritance of the spirit tribe. P.S. Click the advertisement and add more chapters. Add more chapters. Add more chapters. Chapter 1939. Statue of God. After entering the Death Cave, the first thing that entered Yi Chenfeng's eyes was an incomparably tall shrine that exuded a sacred aura. In front of the shrine, there was a statue of God that looked at the sky with a cold and arrogant expression. When Yi Chenfeng approached this statue of God that was dozens of feet tall, the statue suddenly opened its tightly shut eyes. A seemingly solid light shot out from its eyes as it looked at Yi Chenfeng. It's been more than 30,000 years. Finally, a new inheritor has arrived. I hope you can pass the test. The statue suddenly opened its mouth and let out a deep voice. If you can't pass the test, then you may be trapped here forever. If you can't pass the test, then you will be trapped here until you die. Yi Chenfeng finally understood why the old man said that no one had ever left the Death Cave alive. That's right. The secret of this place cannot be leaked. So, either you pass the test and leave, or you leave this place forever. The statue of God roared, "All right, you can prepare now. Once you're ready, we can begin the test." "There's no need to prepare. Let's begin now." Although Yi Chunfeng wasn't sure what kind of test the spiritual bead had left behind here, he was confident in his own strength. He believed that he would definitely be able to pass the test smoothly. 3 palms. If you can withstand 3 of my palms, you can enter the shrine behind me. If you can't, you will lose your life. A terrifying aura surged out from the statue of God as it spoke without a trace of emotion. "All right, come on." Yi Chunfeng nodded and said fearlessly, "Be careful," the statue of God warned. It raised its palm that was the size of a house high up and pressed down on Yi Chunfeng. It carried an incomparable pressure that distorted space and pressed down on Yi Chunfeng. The statue's palm pressed down. Yi Chunfeng didn't dodge and raised his right hand to meet it. Boom! When the hand print, which was the size of a house, landed on Yi Chunfeng's raised right hand, it trembled violently and shattered like glass. After the first palm strike, the statue struck out a second palm strike. This time, it carried an even more terrifying power as it struck towards Yi Chunfeng. Although the imprint's palm strike was frightening enough to threaten an ordinary divine rank expert, it posed no threat to Yi Chunfeng. Yi Chunfeng clenched his fist and punched at the imprint's palm strike, shattering the second palm strike with a force of over 500 billion jin. The last palm strike. The statue stacked its palms in front of its body and pressed them toward Yi Chunfeng. As the palm descended, layers upon layers of space were distorted, and ear-piercing sonic booms rang out incessantly. "Take one of my punches too." Yi Chunfeng let out a long roar and leaped high into the air. He threw a punch at the descending palm aura. The terrifying fist aura was like a meteor, shattering the descending palm aura as easily as crushing dry weed. It ruthlessly bombarded the statue's body. In an instant, it erupted with a force of over 1,000,000,000,000 jin, directly causing the statue to take a few steps back. "Not bad, not bad. After so many years, you are the first person to force me back. Perhaps you can really pass the ultimate test and leave this place." Looking at Yi Chunfeng, who had greatly exceeded his expectations, the eyes of the divine statue shone brightly, revealing a hint of anticipation. "Senior, can I enter the shrine now?" Yi Chunfeng smiled and asked. "Of course you can." The statue nodded. "I wish you good luck." With that, the statue no longer spoke, as if it had fallen into a deep slumber. After adjusting his breathing, Yi Chunfeng stepped onto the ancient staircase and entered the shrine. When he pushed open the ancient shrine's doors, a vigorous aura gushed out of the shrine, forming a powerful current that blew at his body. This is the path of 10,000 swords. After entering the shrine, Yi Chunfeng discovered a straight continent in front of him. This continent was paved with tens of thousands of divine swords, leading to the deepest part of the shrine. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As he stepped onto the path of 10,000 swords, Yi Chunfeng immediately felt the ground beneath his feet tremble. Unparalleled sword light shot out at an indiscernible speed, attacking Yi Chunfeng's body. Although the sword light condensed from the path of 10,000 swords was powerful, it was unable to pose a threat to Yi Chunfeng. He constantly waved his arms, forming a powerful ripple space in front of him, constantly shattering the sword light that was attacking him. However, as he went deeper into the shrine, more and more sword light surged out from the path of 10,000 swords, constantly slowing down his progress. Invincible sword body. Looking at the dazzling sword light in front of him, Yi Chunfeng activated the powerful invincible sword body, transforming into the invincible sword god, standing on the path of 10,000 sword. Under the influence of the invincible sword body, the path of 10,000 swords trembled. The divine swords that formed the path of 10,000 swords seemed to have seen the King of Swords, not daring to attack again. They stood upright in the air, as if they were bowing to Yi Chunfeng. Glancing at the vertical divine swords, Yi Chunfeng smiled faintly, stepped on the void, and walked step by step into the depths of the shrine. And in the space that he walked through, all the divine swords stood upright in the air. Soon, Yi Chen-feng arrived at the end of the daunting path of 10,000 swords. He saw two bare-chested, white-haired, skinny old men sitting cross-legged. "Kill us, and you can continue forward." The two white-haired old men opened their eyes and said in deep voices as they looked at Yi Chen-feng, whose body was brimming with sword intent. "You two are the inheritors trapped here?" Yi Chen-feng vaguely guessed their identities. "That's right. We were the inheritors who came here before you." The two white-haired old men nodded and said, "We've had enough of loneliness. Only death can free us. If you want to die, why don't you do it yourselves or kill each other?" Yi Chen-feng asked in confusion. "It's useless. After we failed the trial, we were restricted by the rules of this place. We can't commit suicide or kill each other. We can only be killed by the new inheritors." The two white-haired old men shook their heads, revealing a hint of anger. "I didn't think that the ultimate inheritance of the spiritual race would have such rules," Yi Chen-feng muttered to himself. "And under the restrictions of these rules, the trial would definitely be more difficult. All right, stop talking nonsense. Quickly come and kill us." As they spoke, the two white-haired old men who were restricted by the power of the Cave of Death held two rusty divine weapons in their hands and fiercely attacked Yi Chen-feng. "All right, then let me send you into the cycle of reincarnation." Yi Chen-feng took a step forward, and his ancestral sword soul flew out of his sea of soul. It turned into a black light in midair, crushing the attacks of the two old men. With a slash of his sword, he split one of the white-haired old men and sent him into the cycle of reincarnation. Ancestral Sword Soul. Seeing Yi Chen-feng summon his ancestral sword soul, the remaining old man's eyes lit up. "It seems that you really have a chance of passing the trial." As he spoke, he burned his powerful bloodline power and pushed his combat strength to the limit. He fused it with the divine weapon in his hand and slashed at Yi Chen-feng with the thought of dying. "I must obtain the ultimate inheritance of the spiritual pearl," Yi Chen-feng replied domineeringly. He controlled his ancestral sword soul and slashed down, shattering the white-haired old man and his divine weapon. Chapter 1940. Another statue. In the depths of the temple, Yi Chen-feng found another statue. Although this statue was not as large as the one outside the temple, the aura it exuded far surpassed that of the statue outside. It was suspected to have the strength of a half-step progenitor. The statue suddenly opened its tightly shut eyes and looked at Yi Chen-feng without a trace of emotion. "Successor, you were able to pass the path of 10,000 swords, which shows that your talent is extraordinary. However, the following test is far more terrifying than the path of 10,000 swords. You must be mentally prepared." As it spoke, a starry sky path appeared behind the statue. On the starry sky path stood 108 statues. "The path of spiritualists is an ancient path that my spirit race's founding ancestor spent 10,000 years to create. You can pass by defeating 108 statues in a row. Those who fail will be forever trapped on the path of spiritualists. Also, because many successors have come here to challenge the path of spiritualists over the countless years, there are even people who are trapped on the path of spiritualists. If you meet them, you will be challenged by them again. All right, successor, prepare well. You can accept the test of the path of spiritualists. I hope you can pass it." With that, the statue no longer spoke and returned to a deep slumber. The path of spiritualists. Although Yi Chen-feng was powerful, he did not rashly challenge it. Instead, he sat cross-legged outside the path of spiritualists and silently adjusted his breathing, adjusting his state to its peak. "Phew, it's time to challenge it." After adjusting his state, Yi Chen-feng let out a long sigh of relief. He slowly stood up and stepped onto the ancient path that led to the distant starry sky behind the statue. The moment Yi Chen-feng stepped onto the starry sky path, endless starlight shone in front of him. A statue that was several hundred feet tall and exuded an ancient aura appeared in front of him. Just as Yi Chunfeng was staring at the statue in silence, the statue suddenly opened its tightly shut eyes and shot out millions of rays of light. In the next moment, a stone sword that was several hundred feet long appeared in the statue's hand. With a destructive power, it slashed at Yi Chunfeng. Ancestor-level sword soul break. Yi Chunfeng summoned his ancestral sword spirit to receive the incoming stone sword with terrifying might. After fusing with the ancestral sword crystal, the ancestral sword spirit's power was comparable to that of a top-grade ancestral artifact. After clashing head-on, the stone sword in the statue's hand shattered without any suspense. The ancestral sword spirit pierced into the statue's body like a hot knife through butter. The terrifying sword might directly shattered the several dozen meter tall statue. Pass. After destroying the statue with one strike, Yi Chunfeng heard a deep voice ring out in his ears. The starry sky in the distance suddenly lit up as a second statue appeared. The statues on the path of the spiritual practitioner were extremely hard and had terrifying offensive power. However, to Yi Chunfeng, a two-star Dao ancestor who had condensed his sword soul to the ancestor realm, they were not dangerous at all. Under the attack of the ancestral sword soul, the statues shattered one after another, unable to stop Yi Chunfeng's advance. Soon, Yi Chunfeng had destroyed 34 statues. At the 35th table of statues, he saw a white-haired old man sitting on the ground. He seemed to be in a deep sleep, and there were no fluctuations of aura coming from his body. 5-star Yao Celestial. With the God-Eater brain, Yi Chunfeng sensed the aura of a Yao Celestial from the old man's body. He guessed that he was a 5-star Yao Celestial. Roar, roar, roar. Yi Chunfeng stepped forward. As he neared the 5-star Yao Celestial, earth-shattering roars rang out from his body. A giant black tortoise phantom emerged from his body and roared at Yi Chunfeng. Black tortoise. Looking at the gigantic black tortoise phantom, Yi Chunfeng's expression did not change at all. He took a step forward, and his ancestral sword spirit flew out of his sea of soul, leaving a deep sword mark in the air. He slashed apart the black tortoise phantom with one sword strike, and cut the unresponsive old man in half. The moment the old man died, Yi Chunfeng clearly saw the corners of his mouth curl up slightly. Clearly, death was a release for him. After killing the old man with a single slash, Yi Chunfeng controlled his ancestral sword soul to continue attacking. He killed another statue that was close to the peak of the 5-star deity realm. The 35th statue is already at the peak of the 5-star deity realm. Then, wouldn't the statues behind it be at the ancestor realm? Yi Chunfeng looked at the path of the spiritual practitioner that led to the distant starry sky and muttered to himself, but the spirit race's overall strength doesn't seem to be very strong. What kind of secret is this spirit race hiding? Yi Chunfeng felt that the ultimate secret of the spirit race's inheritance was not simple. With a strong sense of curiosity, he continued to challenge the powerful statues on the path of the spiritual practitioner. Just as Yi Chunfeng was accepting the spirit race's inheritance test in the Cave of Death, he felt the threat of the divine race. The divine race and the ancient race secretly formed an alliance. When the human emperor returned to the Kunlun Holy Land and saw the terror of Supreme God Heaven, he immediately chose to go into seclusion to break through to a higher realm to deal with the threat of the divine race. The palace in the sky, the holy land of the divine race, where Supreme God Heaven cultivated. Patriarch of Supreme God, Yi Chunfeng has too many trump cards. I was unable to capture him. Please punish me. The patriarch of the bird race, the usually arrogant and insufferably arrogant golden rock demonic ancestor, knelt before a golden throne carved with the divine plume of the phoenix, and spoke in fear. As for the patriarch of the beast race, the low-level empty god realm mighty ape, although he did not kneel, he lowered his huge body as beads of sweat appeared on his broad forehead. It's not your fault. Yi Qinfeng has an empty god weapon and 3 half-step empty gods protecting him. Even my external embodiment was killed by him. It's normal that you are not his match. Supreme God Heaven, who was wearing a dark golden robe, said in a deep voice. His entire body had merged with the space, and his entire body was illusory. Patriarch of Supreme God, if I may be so bold as to ask, what is the background of Yi Qinfeng? Golden Rock Demonic Ancestor asked. It's not hard to guess his background. Supreme God Heaven said slowly. He has the chaotic divine wood, and his surname is Yi. He is also entangled with the divine race. Whose descendant do you think he is? Yi Wuji. Could he be the descendant of Yi Wuji, the #1 independent cultivator in the void god world? Golden Rock Demonic Ancestor's pupils shrank as he thought of a terrifying name. That's right. He should be the descendant of Yi Wuji. Supreme God Heaven nodded and said, Yi Qinfeng is not simple. Not only did he control Little Six Dao, but he also raised his son. Once Yi Qinfeng grows up, he will be a huge threat to the divine race. Tell me, where did you lose track of Yi Qinfeng? Outside the Dead Sea. Golden Rock Demonic Ancestor said in fear. The Dead Sea. Why did he go there? Could it be that there is a great opportunity in the Dead Sea that has not been destroyed? Supreme God Heaven felt that Yi Qinfeng would not go to the Dead Sea for no reason. There must be a reason for him to go to the Dead Sea. Oh yes, have you found the whereabouts of the Phoenix God? No, the Phoenix God seems to have disappeared from the world. We have not found any trace of her. Golden Rock Demonic Ancestor and Mighty Ape Demonic Ancestor shook their head. I'll leave these 2 external incarnations to you. Take my external incarnation and continue to search for the whereabouts of the Phoenix God. Find her at all costs and interrogate her for the exact location of the Great Desolation Tomb. Supreme God Heaven gave the 2 external incarnations that he had spent a lot of effort to refine to the Golden Rock Demonic Ancestor and said, As for that Yi Qinfeng, leave him to me. I will destroy him. Yes, Patriarch of Supreme God. Chapter 1941. Phew, the 95th statue. Yi Qinfeng let out a long sigh of relief. He looked at the 95th statue, which was equivalent to a 1-star Dao ancestor, and walked toward the 96th statue. Although the statues were getting stronger and stronger, they were still unable to stop Yi Qinfeng's footsteps. After killing all the way, he was nearing the end of the spiritualist path. 3 inheritors. When he walked to the 96th statue, Yi Qinfeng saw 3 white-haired people sitting cross-legged under the statue. They were 2 men and 1 woman from different races. The 3 of them had been trapped in the spiritualist path for countless years. The clothes on their upper bodies had long been eroded, and they were naked. However, as the 3 of them were too old, especially the woman, whose entire body was full of wrinkles and whose figure was severely deformed, Yi Qinfeng was not willing to look at them anymore. Kill, kill, kill! Seeing Yi Qinfeng walking toward them step by step, the 3 inheritors, who had long been tormented by loneliness, opened their eyes at the same time. They released surging killing intent and attacked Yi Qinfeng. 3 1-star Ancestor Realm Almighties. Sensing the strength of the 3, Yi Qinfeng could not help but sigh at their fates. If they were not trapped here, with their strength, they would definitely live a wonderful life. Sword steps. Yi Qinfeng took a step forward, and a mysterious sword diagram formed under his feet. A large number of sword patterns flew out at a speed visible to the naked eye, crushing the attacks of the 3. In the next moment, the power of space behind Yi Qinfeng surged, condensing into 3 extremely powerful dimensional slashes. They were like 3 crescent moons that fell to the mortal world, slashing toward the 3, directly sending them flying. 2-star Dao Ancestor. Sensing Yi Qinfeng's strength, the 3 saw the hope of freedom. Under the restrictions of the Death Cave's rules, they all burned their powerful bloodline power and launched fatal attacks at Yi Qinfeng without any regard for their lives. Sigh, let me send you into the cycle of reincarnation. Yi Chunfeng sighed softly as he looked at the 3 one-star progenitor realm powerhouses who had tragic fate. He controlled his ancestor-level sword soul and slashed down. It turned into a black sword light that traversed through the void. Like a spatial crack that was constantly expanding, it directly split the bodies of the 3 powerhouses apart and ended their life. Break. After killing the 3 of them, Yi Chunfeng controlled his ancestor-level sword spirit to float above his head. It turned into a huge sword that was dozens of feet long. Boundless Tao will fell from the sword as it slashed at the 96th statue. Before he could attack, the indestructible statue was split into 2. Phew, only 12 statues left, and I'll be able to pass the path of spiritual practitioners. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and walked towards the 97th statue. 97, 98, 98, 99, 100. When Yi Chunfeng arrived at the 100th statue, he felt a power that was no weaker than his own from the statue. And under this 2-star Tao Ancestor Realm statue sat 7 inheritors who had been trapped on the Tao Ancestor Realm for countless years. Yi Chunfeng's arrival woke them up. Under the Death Cave's rules, they stimulated their full strength and launched their strongest attacks at Yi Chunfeng. Godless Sword. The 7 Ancestor Realm Almighty's attack. Yi Chunfeng summoned the Demon Sealing Sword, activating the mysterious ancestral runes carved on the Chaos Stones in the Demon Sealing Sword, stabbing out with the brilliance of heaven and earth. It was an invincible sword. Chi. With a slash of the sword, a huge gap was torn open in the space. The combined attack of the 7 Ancestor Realm experts was directly shattered by the Godless Sword, and their bodies were also cut open by the Godless Sword, dying on the spot. Yi Chunfeng killed 7 Ancestor Realm Almighties with a single sword, awakening the 100th statue. He opened his bell-like eyes and held an incomparably huge hammer in his hand. Like swinging a huge mountain, he smashed towards Yi Chunfeng. Yi Chunfeng took a step forward as the mountain-like hammer smashed towards him. More than 700 billion gene of strength erupted and poured into his right fist as he punched out. Boom! The fist collided with the heavy hammer. More than 700 billion gene of strength poured into the heavy hammer, directly shattering the mountain-like hammer and causing the several hundred feet tall statue to retreat step by step. Heaven and Earth Star Seal. After shaking the statue with one punch, Yi Chunfeng's hands quickly condensed into a giant hand imprint that seemed to contain the stars of heaven and earth. He ruthlessly smashed it into the giant statue, shattering it. Phew, there are still 8 statues left. Although Yi Chunfeng was powerful and had the Grand Mist blood, the continuous fierce battle had also consumed a lot of his spirit. He took a deep breath and looked towards the end of the spiritualist path. He took heavy steps and walked over step by step. Boom, boom, boom. Deafening sounds of explosions rang out continuously on the spiritualist path. At the end, Yi Chunfeng encountered greater challenges. However, the statues on the spiritualist path were not enough to force Yi Chunfeng to burn the Grand Mist blood and transform into the invincible sword body. 101, 102, 103. Yi Chunfeng wielded the demon sealing sword and slaughtered his way through. He continuously killed the inheritors who were trapped on the path of spiritualists and could not leave. He destroyed the incomparably powerful statues and finally arrived at the last statue, the 108th statue. What a beautiful woman! Yi Chunfeng's eyes lit up as he saw a woman sitting cross-legged under the last golden statue. She was wearing a snow-white long dress, her long black hair draped over her shoulders, and her charming face glowed with a luster. Although Yi Chunfeng had seen many beautiful women, when he saw this woman, he still fell into a momentary daze. But in the next moment, the God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, detected a sealed demonic chi in the woman's body. And this demonic chi was so strong that it seemed to have reached the level of a 3-star Tao ancestor. The demon race. Yi Chunfeng had never had a good impression of the demon race. When he felt the demonic qi in the woman's body, he no longer had any pity in his heart. He walked over with heavy step. When he arrived in front of the motionless woman in the white dress, the woman's snow-white dress suddenly swelled up. Then, the snow-white dress shattered, revealing a flawless body with snow-white skin. Under the starlight, her twin peaks gave off rays of light. Her slender waist and the exaggerated curve of her buttocks attracted Yi Chunfeng's gaze like poison. While Yi Chunfeng was momentarily dazed, the woman suddenly opened her tightly shut eyes. With a wave of her hand, she fired off several thousand black poison needles at Yi Chunfeng. The woman's calculated attack was extremely fast, so fast that it was too much for the eye to take in. But Yi Chunfeng was wearing a medium-quality ancestral dragon armor, so he simply did not fear this attack. With a series of vibrations, the black poison needles were completely blocked by the dragon armor, unable to harm Yi Chunfeng in the slightest. Ancestral battle armor. Upon seeing Yi Chunfeng's body appear, the woman grimaced, and the armor emitting draconic might emitted by the two dragon heads embedded in it. After all, ancestral battle armors were extremely rare in the faux god world. Only a few major characters of the faux god world possess them. The value of each piece was unimaginable. A good plan. Yi Chunfeng looked at the woman whose face paled, revealing a charming spring glow, and said, "Now, I finally know what the rules of this death cave are. If you can kill me, you should have a second chance to challenge the spirit race's ultimate inheritance, right?" "That's right. If I kill you, I can challenge the spirit race's ultimate inheritance again. With my current strength, I have a high chance of obtaining the ultimate treasure here and leaving this damned place." Although her body was completely exposed in front of Yi Chunfeng, the female lead did not show any signs of shyness and admitted it generously. "A good idea." Yi Chunfeng looked at the beautiful woman and said, "Unfortunately, you are too weak." After saying that, Yi Chunfeng summoned the Death Scythe and used the way of controlling equipment, fully activating the Death Scythe's offensive power as he tossed it at the beautiful woman. Swish! The beautiful woman's attack was broken, and her body was cleaved apart by the Death Scythe. After cleaving apart the deity statue, the Death Scythe's might did not decrease as it struck the final deity statue. Bang! The 108th deity statue shattered. The terrifying Death Scythe cleaved open the end of the spiritualist path, opening the exit. Chapter 1942. Congratulations, Inheritor. You are the 32nd person to break through the spiritual practitioner's path. I hope you can pass the final test and obtain the ultimate treasure here. When Yi Chunfeng threw out the death sickle and broke through the spiritual practitioner's path, the statue's voice rang in his ears. 32 people. It seems that I will encounter quite a challenge. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and transformed into an afterimage. He flew up and passed through the spatial entrance, arriving at a mysterious space where he saw the third statue of a god. Inheritor, your strength is not bad. However, the following life and death test will be more dangerous. In the life and death test, your strength will be suppressed. Your enemy's realm will either be the same as yours or be stronger than yours. Moreover, in the life and death test, you can only rely on your own strength. You are not allowed to borrow any external force. The statue spoke and explained the rules of the test. Suppress your realm and do not use external force. Yi Chunfeng did not expect the life and death test to be so harsh. However, he had the primordial blood, cultivated the invincible sword body, and condensed the ancestral sword soul. He was like a human-shaped ancestral artifact. Even if he did not borrow any external force, he could still unleash the power of a top-grade ancestral artifact. Well, the entrance to the life and death test is behind me. You can go in and challenge it at any time. After saying that, a space entrance appeared behind the statue. A strange power surged out from the entrance. Huff! Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and sat cross-legged in the space entrance. he adjusted his state and recovered the soul power that he had consumed. He was ready to challenge the life and death test in his best state. Soon, 3 days passed. After 3 days of adjustment, Yi Chunfeng adjusted his state to the best. He slowly stood up and flew into the life and death test space. What a powerful suppression power! After entering the life and death test space, Yi Chunfeng immediately felt a powerful suppression on him. It forcibly suppressed his realm to the peak of a 6-star Dao God. Suppressing my realm by 2 levels. There must be a treasure in this death cave. Yi Chunfeng was not an ordinary 2-star Dao ancestor. His foundation was equivalent to that of a 3-star Dao ancestor, but in this life and death test space, his realm was forcibly suppressed by 2 levels, which shocked him. However, although his cultivation realm was suppressed, his grand mist blood and powerful physical strength were not affected. Moreover, Yi Chunfeng was surprised to discover that his life treasure, the primal divine wood, was not restrained by this life and death trial space. He could summon it to attack. Yi Chunfeng stood in silence. He closed his eyes and quietly adapted to the terrifying suppressive power. Then, he followed the only ancient path in this space and walked towards the end of the life and death test space. As he walked, Yi Chunfeng noticed an old man with snow-white hair in front of him. The old man had a sword in his hands and his head was lowered. There was not a trace of aura coming from his body, as if he had passed away. The pinnacle of the 6-star Dao gods. Yi Chunfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to sense for a moment and discovered that there was a powerful force sealed within the white-haired elder's body. It was suspected to be an ancestor realm expert. However, he was suppressed by the power of space. Like him, he was unable to exert his full strength. Yi Chunfeng walked with even steps. When he was 5 meters in front of the old man suddenly raised his head. Endless golden light shot out from his turbid old eyes and penetrated Yi Chunfeng. What a sharp gaze! Yi Chunfeng's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect the old man's gaze to be so sharp that it gave him a feeling of being penetrated. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A series of ear-piercing sword sounds rang out. Feeling the old man's recovery power, the snakeskin scabbard in his arms trembled. A powerful sword intent permeated from the scabbard. Defeat me and you can continue to move forward. Loser, die. The white-haired elder made a cold voice. An extremely sharp long sword, which had reached the level of a supreme-grade transcendent sacred artifact, flew out of the snakeskin scabbard. It interweaved into sharp sword shadows in midair and attacked Yi Chunfeng. Under the dense sword shadows, Yi Chunfeng took a step forward and threw out a punch. A force of over 500 billion kilograms surged out from Yi Chunfeng's fist like a tidal wave. It shattered the incoming sword shadows and struck the supreme-grade transcendent sacred sword. The terrifying force almost snapped the sword in half. Sunflower tidal sword. Seeing the might of Yi Chunfeng's punch, the white-haired elder's deep eyes shone with endless light. His bloodline was completely ignited as he channeled his powerful way of the sword. He used his strongest sword move to attack Yi Chunfeng. At this moment, the white-haired elder seemed to have transformed into a surging tide. Sword shadows, each stronger than the last, swept through the void and attacked Yi Chunfeng. True Soul Dragon Wrestling Fist. The white-haired elder attacked with the sunflower tidal sword. Yi Chunfeng continued to increase his physical strength. He threw out a devastating punch that could kill a true dragon as he continuously bombarded the sunflower tidal sword. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 powerful attacks collided, erupting with a world-shaking destructive force. The shockwaves caused the entire space to rupture. A mountain-toppling force swept out in all directions. Dimensional slash. When Yi Chunfeng unleashed the true spirit fighting dragon fist and forcefully tore apart the sunflower tidal sword, Yi Chunfeng mobilized the powerful power of space and formed 3-dimensional light slashes above his head. He slashed towards the white-haired old man, forcing him to be unable to continue attacking and dodge with all his might. Spatial storm. When the white-haired old man dodged the 3 extremely powerful dimensional light slashes with a strange footwork, Yi Chunfeng unleashed the rule of space, forming a terrifying spatial storm. It directly engulfed the white-haired old man, who was unable to dodge, and crazily destroyed his physical body. You've actually grasped the way of space. The way of space was extremely powerful. Within the spatial storm, the white-haired elder's body constantly cracked. In the end, he used all his strength to tear open the spatial storm and escape in a sorry state. Excuse me. As the white-haired elder escaped in a sorry state, Yi Chunfeng suddenly accelerated time. Like an arrow released from a bow, he appeared in front of the white-haired elder and punched at his chest. Boom! The white-haired old man's body trembled. His defense was broken by Yi Chunfeng's punch. His chest was also pierced through by this punch. A large amount of blood spurted out as he fell heavily to the ground. As he struggled to crawl to his feet, Yi Chunfeng punched out a second time, shattering his head and killing him. After killing the white-haired elder, Yi Chunfeng picked up the blood-stained supreme-grade Skylink Saint's sword and continued down the ancient path. After walking over 1,000 steps, Yi Chunfeng suddenly came to a stop. He discovered that a waterfall of light had appeared in front of him, and beneath the waterfall of light sat 4 men in black armor. They held sharp swords in their hands and their expressions didn't change at all. Sword puppet. Looking at the 4 men in black battle armor, Yi Chunfeng recognized that they were the powerful puppets refined by the Spirit Clan. Moreover, their battle prowess seemed to have reached the half-martial ancestor realm, surpassing Yi Chunfeng, whose cultivation was suppressed. This life-or-death trial is truly difficult. As he thought of the sword puppet's defenses, Yi Chunfeng felt a little troubled. Chapter 1943. Come. Let me see what level your defenses have reached. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and walked toward the 4 half-martial ancestor sword puppets with the supreme-grade sky-piercing sacred sword in hand. Sensing Yi Chunfeng's approach, the 4 sword puppets simultaneously opened their eyes. 4 surging sword intents erupted from their bodies and pierced the sky. Kacha! Yi Chunfeng's right hand exerted strength and shattered the supreme-grade sky-piercing sacred sword in his hand. He then fused the ancestral sword soul into the shattered swords and shot them at the 4 sword puppet. The 4 sword puppets did not dodge. Instead, they raised their pitch-black swords to meet the oncoming swords. Chi! 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 Sparks lit up on the bodies of the 4 sword spirit puppets. The bodies of the 4 sword spirit puppets were cut by the broken swords infused with the ancestral sword spirits, leaving behind sword scars. Low-grade ancestral artifact defenses. Seeing the sword scars on the 4 sword puppets' bodies, Yi Chunfeng had a basic understanding of their defenses. Without wasting any time, Yi Chunfeng stimulated all the sword Dao energy in his body, transformed into the strongest invincible sword body, and fused with the ancestral sword soul. Kill! 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 The moment Yi Chunfeng transformed into the invincible sword body, the 4 sword puppets immediately charged at Yi Chunfeng with their sturdy black sword. Sword domain break! Without waiting for the 4 sword puppets to get close, Yi Chunfeng activated his sword domain and enveloped the 4 sword puppet. Ka! 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 The sword domain's attacks shattered the armor on the 4 sword puppets' bodies, and their low-grade ancestral artifact bodies were pierced through by the sword domain's power. In less than 10 breaths of time, the powerful sword puppets with astonishing defenses were shattered into pieces and scattered across the ground. After killing the 4 sword spirit puppets, Yi Chunfeng took a step forward. His terrifying sword domain turned into a divine sword that reached the heavens and the earth. With a slash, he split open the sky and continued forward. Before long, Yi Chunfeng was blocked by another powerful sword puppet. However, under the attack of the sword domain, the powerful sword spirit puppets were unable to stop Yi Chunfeng's advance. Very quickly, the invincible Yi Chunfeng had walked for tens of thousands of meters before he was stopped by a huge stone tablet. Stone steel. As Yi Chunfeng looked at the smooth stone steel on the back of the divine beast, he walked over without any hesitation. There was not a single word on it. Roar! As Yi Chunfeng approached, the sword puppet suddenly opened its bloody mouth and let out a terrifying roar at Yi Chunfeng. As for the stone tablet that was as smooth as a mirror, a large number of ancient words appeared at this moment. They formed a mysterious attack chant and attacked Yi Chunfeng. Invincible sword body / Both the sword puppet and the stone steel attacked at the same time. Yi Chunfeng transformed his body into a sword and slashed out with an invincible sword. As the sword slashed out, an invincible sword might struck fear into the hearts of those who saw it. The terrifying sword light was like a raging sea that tore through space, breaking through the attacks of the stone steel and the sword puppet before slashing at the stone steel. Gotcha! After receiving the attack of Yi Chunfeng's invincible sword body, the stone steel immediately began to crack, extending all the way to the sword puppet and splitting it apart. Theurgy tyrannical kick. Yi Chunfeng leaped up high, gathered all his strength in his right foot, and stomped on the broken stone steel. The jumbo footprint, which was filled with the power of hundreds of millions of kilograms, directly crushed the stone steel together with the sword puppet. After crushing the stone steel with one foot, Yi Chunfeng did not slow down and continued to move forward. Successor, you are really good. The speed at which you passed the test of life and death is really unexpected. Yi Chunfeng walked thousands of steps quickly, but he was stopped by a burly man who was more than 6 meters tall, wearing a lion-head armor and holding a dragon-head long sword. The ultimate one-star Tao ancestor sword puppet. Sensing the strength of the armored man in front of him, Yi Chunfeng's expression did not change much. According to common sense, a 6-star Tao god could not defeat a 1-star Tao ancestor without external help. However, for Yi Chunfeng, who had the invincible sword body and the sword realm, it was not difficult for him. However, this time, Yi Chunfeng did not use the sword realm to directly destroy the armored man. Instead, he relied on his absolute strength to rush forward. He wanted to use the armored man to temper himself and lay the most solid cultivation foundation for breaking through to the 3-star Tao ancestor realm. Boom! 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 Yi Chunfeng activated his sword steps, activated more than 700 billion kilograms of physical strength, and fought fiercely with the armored man. Although the dragon-head long sword in the armored man's hand was of an extraordinary level, it could not break through the defense of the invincible sword body. True spirit fighting dragon fist. The fierce battle reached its climax. Yi Chunfeng used the powerful fighting dragon fist, constantly smashing the armored man's attacks and attacking him. Again and again, he sent the armored man's hard body flying. Energy burn. After being repeatedly sent flying by Yi Chunfeng, the armored man burned a large amount of energy to increase his combat strength. Holding the dragon-head long sword, he continued to fight fiercely with Yi Chunfeng. However, no matter how much he increased his combat strength, he could not break through Yi Chunfeng's invincible sword body. His hard body was constantly being slashed by the ancestor-level sword soul, leaving crisscrossing cracks. Die! The armored man burned all the energy in his body to the extreme. Holding the dragon-head long sword with both hands, he slashed at Yi Chunfeng with a force that could split heaven and earth. Time acceleration by 10 times. The terrifying dragon-patterned sword radiance attacked. Yi Chunfeng suddenly increased his speed by 10 times and dodged several times in an instant. He dodged the armored man's fatal attack and appeared beside him. He unleashed more than 700 billion kilograms of strength and continued to attack the armored man's body. The armored man's defense was amazing, but he still could not withstand Yi Chunfeng's fist radiance. In addition to the ancestor-level sword soul's attacks, the armored man could not withstand the attacks and shattered. The battle can end now. Yi Chunfeng did not waste any more time. He took a step forward and activated his sword domain, which turned into an unparalleled sword light. The sword light split the entire space, shattering the armor of the armored man, whose defense was rapidly decreasing, into two halves, killing him on the spot. After killing the one-star Dao Ancestor-level armored man, Yi Chunfeng did not continue to move forward. He sat cross-legged where he was, silently adjusting his breath and recovering his state. As time passed, the invincible sword body he activated gradually disappeared. However, after the battle with the armored man just now, his cultivation foundation was obviously more solid. About 3 days later, Yi Chunfeng adjusted his state and continued to follow the ancient road, walking into the depths of the life and death test space. No more tests? But this time, he walked hundreds of thousands of steps quickly and did not encounter a single test taker, which surprised him. As he walked, he suddenly found an incomparably huge stone in front of him, blocking his path. When he approached the stone, the sensitive God-Eater brain sensed a powerful life aura from the stone. Stone Clan Expert. Chapter 1944. Finally, there's a new challenger. I hope you won't disappoint me. As Yi Chunfeng stared at the huge stone, a hoarse voice rang out from the stone. The terrifying voice shook the entire space. Don't worry, I'll give you a surprise. Although the expert in front of him was very powerful, and was suspected to be a 2-star stone ancestor, it was still not much of a challenge to Yi Chunfeng. Ha ha, I hope your strength is as strong as your words. A deafening laughter rang out from the huge stone. The entire stone distorted and finally turned into an incomparably strong and tall stone man holding a pair of stone axes. By the way, my name is Shi Lingxiao. I was once the #1 genius of the Stone Clan. If you die, you must remember my name. Shi Lingxiao was even more arrogant than Yi Chunfeng, and he said arrogantly, Shi Lingxiao, not a bad name, but it's a pity that you're going to become a real stone soon. Yi Chunfeng smiled and said without backing down, Is that so? Then let me see how you're going to crush me. As Shi Lingxiao spoke, a powerful force erupted from his body. His stone body constantly changed, and the terrifying pressure was suffocating. Rumble! Shi Lingxiao punched out, and the entire space trembled violently. The terrifying force shattered the layers of air and collided with Yi Chunfeng's fist. When the two extremely disproportionate fists collided, a terrifying force was released at the same time, and dense sonic booms rang out. Deng, deng, deng! After facing Shi Lingxiao's fist head-on, Yi Chunfeng's body trembled, and he was forced to retreat by the force of this fist. His arm even showed a severe numbness. More than 100 million Jin of strength. Yi Chunfeng raised his eyebrows slightly. He did not expect Shi Lingxiao's strength to be so terrifying, surpassing that of a high-level divine demon. Brat, did you not eat? After forcing Yi Chunfeng back with a punch, Shi Lingxiao became even more arrogant and said arrogantly, Primordial bloodline, burn. Yi Chunfeng's pupils shrank. He burned his primordial bloodline and instantly broke through the suppression. He regained the strength of a 2-star Dao ancestor, and his physical strength exceeded 1 trillion kilograms. At this time, Shi Lingxiao swung his hammer-like fist and smashed it over again. He wanted to rely on absolute strength to defeat Yi Chunfeng in one fell swoop. Boom! Yi Chunfeng and Shi Lingxiao's fists collided for the second time. However, this time, Yi Chunfeng did not move an inch like a boulder. However, Shi Lingxiao, who was as tall as a moving mountain, was sent flying by Yi Chunfeng's punch. He flew several thousand meters and his hard fist cracked. How is this possible? How did your strength increase so quickly? Shi Lingxiao widened his eyes and looked at Yi Chunfeng as if he was looking at a monster. He could not believe that Yi Chunfeng, who was suppressed by his strength just a moment ago, had surpassed him in strength in the blink of an eye. Why, are you surprised? Yi Chunfeng smiled and said, Your knowledge is a bit too low. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng launched a fierce attack on Shi Lingxiao with a strength of over 1 trillion kilograms. They fought fiercely on the ancient road. Yi Chunfeng's fighting strength was beyond imagination. It forced Shi Lingxiao to constantly stimulate his potential and increase his fighting strength to resist Yi Chunfeng's fierce attack. However, Yi Chunfeng's physical strength completely crushed him. No matter how much he increased his fighting strength, he could not resist Yi Chunfeng's fierce attacks. He was sent flying again and again by Yi Chunfeng's fists. However, Shi Lingxiao's defensive strength was comparable to that of a divine demon. Relying on his powerful physical strength, he gritted his teeth and bitterly held on. Let's see how many of my punches you can resist. Yi Chunfeng looked at Shi Lingxiao, who was desperately trying to defend. He erupted with a strength of over 1 trillion kilograms and constantly launched a tidal wave of attacks at Shi Lingxiao. Life ignition. After fighting for an incense stick's worth of time, Shi Lingxiao was gradually unable to resist Yi Chunfeng's fierce attacks. He had no choice but to ignite his powerful life force and borrow the majestic life force to resist Yi Chunfeng. True Spirit Dragon Wrestling Fist. Shi Lingxiao ignited his life force and his fighting strength increased greatly. However, he was still unable to reverse the situation. At this time, Yi Chunfeng began to use powerful divine abilities. He blasted out fist lights that could kill a true dragon and attacked Shi Lingxiao. He continued to suppress Shi Lingxiao's offensive and did not give him a chance to breathe. Motherf ***, how is this possible? He's just a human, how can he have such strength? Shi Lingxiao was full of confidence in his own strength. He believed that he could easily kill a divine demon in the same realm. However, facing Yi Chunfeng, whose physical strength was not that strong, he was restrained in every way. His indestructible body was even blasted apart by Yi Chunfeng's powerful divine abilities. Shi Lingxiao, your strength is not that great. I really don't know where your confidence comes from. Seeing Shi Lingxiao retreating step by step, with cracks appearing on his arms, Yi Chunfeng revealed a mocking smile and deliberately provoked him. Ah, human, I will definitely kill you. Yi Chunfeng's words deeply infuriated Shi Lingxiao, causing him to be driven mad and enraged, causing him to attack Yi Chunfeng without regard for anything else. Angry? But what's the use of being angry? Yi Chunfeng smiled. Relying on his absolute strength, he continuously shattered Shi Lingxiao's killing move. Fist of Life. Shi Lingxiao used all his skills but still could not severely injure Yi Chunfeng. Helpless, he cast a forbidden divine ability at all costs, burning his life as the price, and blasted the Fist of Life at Yi Chunfeng. 3,000 God-transforming fist. The Fist of Life was like a blazing sun. Yi Chunfeng did not dare to be careless. He immediately deduced a powerful Tao and blasted out 3,000 fist lights in an instant. Although the Fist of Life was powerful, it was slightly inferior to a supreme divine ability. It could not withstand the attack of the 3,000 God-transforming fist that Yi Chunfeng deduced from the 4 ancestral Tao diagrams. Boom, boom, boom. Under the attack of the 3,000 God-transforming fist like a meteor shower, Shi Lingxiao's Fist of Life was constantly shattered. It could not stop the killing of the 3,000 fist lights at all. After shattering the Fist of Life, the destructive fist lights continued to hit Shi Lingxiao's mountain-like body. The terrifying power shattered his body like a hot knife through butter, directly shattering his body and sending him flying again. Yi Chunfeng stepped forward with sword steps and appeared in front of the shattered Shi Lingxiao. He said domineeringly, Shi Lingxiao, what other tricks do you have? Use them all. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. Fist of Life. Exterminate the great enemy. The Fist of Life was Shi Lingxiao's strongest move. At the moment of life and death, he burned his life to the greatest extent and blasted out fist after Fist of Life at Yi Chunfeng, wanting to force him back. Sigh, since you don't have any new moves, let me send you into the cycle of reincarnation. With that, Yi Chunfeng used the same trick and once again used the 3000 God-transforming fist to meet Shi Lingxiao. The two invincible divine abilities collided, directly collapsing the space around the ancient road. The terrifying destructive power was like an ancient beast that had awakened, swallowing the two of them. Ancestral Sword Spirit / Relying on his powerful physical body, Yi Chunfeng summoned his ancestor-level sword soul and slashed at Shi Lingxiao, who was on the verge of collapsing and could no longer hold on. Gotcha. Chapter 1945. Huff. After shattering Shi Lingxiao's body, Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath. He didn't adjust his breathing to recover. Instead, he traversed the collapsed ancient road and continued forward. Along the way, Yi Chunfeng encountered many sword puppets. However, these sword puppets weren't very strong. Yi Chunfeng defeated them all with his powerful body alone. Something's not right. Just as Yi Chunfeng was slaughtering and advancing rapidly, the God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, detected something strange in his body. He realized that every time he killed a sword puppet, there would be a very secretive force that was difficult to detect entering his body. Although this mysterious force was harmless to the body, as he killed more and more sword puppets, the mysterious force in his body grew stronger and stronger. It began to eat away at his body. This trial of life and death is indeed not simple. Yi Chunfeng didn't expect that this trial of life and death would have such a hidden danger. He immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and controlled the chaos divine wood that had taken root in his heart meridian to devour the mysterious force in his body. The chaos divine wood was the nemesis of all kinds of energy. Under the devouring of its 5-colored roots, the mysterious force that was slowly eating away at Yi Chunfeng's body was reduced until it was completely devoured by the chaos divine wood. Chaos divine wood, protect my body. With a thought, Yi Chunfeng controlled the chaos divine wood to protect his body firmly. He stood up and continued forward. With the protection of the chaos divine wood, Yi Chunfeng didn't encounter any more danger as he killed the sword puppet. Soon, he discovered that a lush forest appeared in front of the ancient road. In the forest, he sensed an aura that was even stronger than Shi Lingxiao's. A new challenge has finally come. Yi Chunfeng didn't hesitate and quickly arrived at the lush forest. The moment he stepped into the forest, he discovered that the entire forest had changed. The towering ancient trees seemed to have come alive. They controlled vines that were as thick as a child's arm and attacked Yi Chunfeng. However, when the extremely sharp vines came into contact with Yi Chunfeng's body, they were immediately shattered by the destructive power that filled his body. They were unable to harm him at all. Alright, stop hiding. I've already found you, Yi Chunfeng said indifferently as he looked at an ancient tree in the distance. It wasn't tall, but it was very lush and bore many fruits. Your Excellency has good eyesight, you actually found me. A clear female voice rang out from the ancient tree. A woman with skin as white as jade and fine features like an elf walked out from the ancient tree. She was wearing a long green silk dress. Her feet were as delicate as jade, and her long black hair hung down to her waist. Her feet were as delicate as jade, and she walked out from the ancient tree barefooted. Elves! Looking at the woman in front of him, Yi Chunfeng's rapidly deducing aura immediately appeared in the god-devouring brain. Yi Chunfeng was surprised to learn that she was actually from the elf race, a race that had long disappeared from the entire universe. I didn't expect you to have such knowledge. You saw through my origins at a glance. The elf woman revealed a clear smile. My name is Mu Linger, the protector of this forest. If you want to pass through it, you have to defeat me. Defeat you? Not kill you? Yi Chunfeng creased his brows slightly as he spoke in a low voice. Kill me? We have no grievances or enmity, so why do you want to kill me so badly? Mu Linger wasn't angry, but her voice was pleasant. On my way here, everyone I met wanted to kill me. Yi Chunfeng said mildly. I am me, and they are them. Mu Linger said. They've been tortured to insanity by loneliness, so they're prepared to die. But I haven't lived enough yet. Moreover, I believe that I'll definitely be able to leave this damned place alive, so I can't die. I can spare your life, but you have to answer one of my questions. Yi Chunfeng's eyes rolled as he spoke. What is it? Mu Linger asked. Are there still elves left in the Void God realm? Yi Chunfeng asked. There aren't any left in this universe, but there are others. Mu Linger said. What other universes? Mu Linger's words were like a heavy bomb that exploded in Yi Chunfeng's heart, creating huge waves in his heart. Stunned, he asked, could it be that there are other universes? Of course. Mu Linger nodded, her words leaving no room for doubt. According to the inherited memories of the elves, the only ruler of one universe, the only god, came from the elves. Inconceivable, truly inconceivable. Yi Chunfeng never expected to learn such important information from Mu Linger's mouth. All right, I'm going to start my attack. But no matter if it succeeds or not, you can't kill me. Mu Linger urged as she reached out with her pure white hands. She quickly formed complicated hand seals and summoned a powerful surge of wood energy to merge with her own. Divine Tree Diagram, condense. In the next instant, Mu Linger merged with the entire forest to form a giant diagram of the Divine Tree Diagram in front of her. If you can break through my Divine Tree Diagram, then I'll consider you defeated me and I'll let you leave immediately. Mu Linger said from behind the diagram. Alright. Although Mu Linger's Divine Tree Diagram was very powerful, it wasn't hard for the God-devouring brain to break through. Yi Chunfeng closed his eyes and controlled the God-eater brain to quickly calculate. He released his soul energy to the maximum and merged it into the Divine Tree Diagram, looking for a flaw. Divine Tree Diagram, activate. While Yi Chunfeng was using the God-devouring brain to search for an opening, Mu Linger activated the Divine Tree Diagram. Streaks of green light shot out from the diagram like dragons to attack Yi Chunfeng. 100 layers of spatial restrictions. Before the powerful streams of green light could reach his body, Yi Chunfeng activated his powerful spatial energy and formed 100 layers of spatial restrictions in front of him, blocking the attacks of the green streams of light. As expected, there's a flaw. Yi Chunfeng suddenly opened his eyes and directed the ancestral sword spirit to attack the Divine Tree Diagram's flaw. Gotcha! Under the attack of the sword spirit, the Divine Tree Diagram began to crack and crack. The sight stunned Mu Linger. How did you do it? How did you find the Divine Tree Diagram's flaw so quickly? Mu Linger's pretty eyes widened as she looked at Yi Chunfeng in shock. She was stunned that she'd locked onto the Divine Tree Diagram's restrictions in such a short time. What, is it that hard to find a flaw? Yi Chunfeng smiled as he directed the sword spirit to attack the Divine Tree Diagram's flaw. More and more cracks appeared on the Divine Tree Diagram's surface under the sword spirit's attack. Meanwhile, the streaks of green light it shot out grew weaker and weaker. Break! As Yi Chunfeng let out a piercing sound, the ancestral sword soul pierced through the Divine Tree Diagram's flaw like a hot knife through butter, destroying it in one fell swoop. Now that the Divine Tree Diagram's been broken, can I keep going? Yi Chunfeng looked at Mu Linger, whose eyes were wide with disbelief, and spoke mildly. Formidable, you really are formidable. I have a feeling that you might really be able to pass the final trial. Mu Linger recovered with a look of worship. How about we make a deal? What kind of deal? Yi Chunfeng looked at the mischievous Mu Linger. You take me out of this damned place and I'll help you. Mu Linger said sweetly. Sorry, I don't have the skills. Yi Chunfeng shook his head. As long as you can pass all the trials and obtain the ultimate treasure here, you can take one person with you. I hope you can take me with you. Mu Linger blinked her large eyes at Yi Chunfeng with a pleading look. If that day really comes, what benefits can you give me? Yi Chunfeng pondered for a moment before asking. I can teach you a divine art from the outerverse. Mu Linger rested her chin on her hand as she said this. Alright, deal. Chapter 1946. Hee, I just knew you'd agree. Hearing Yi Chunfeng's agreement, Mu Linger's beautiful eyes curved into crescents as she spoke happily. Mu Linger, can you tell me ahead of time that you're going to teach me the secret arts of the universe outside the door? Yi Chunfeng asked curiously. I can't. Mu Linger shook her head and refused. Right now, I'm not sure if you can really take me out of here, so I can't tell you ahead of time. Alright. Since Mu Linger didn't want to tell him ahead of time, Yi Chunfeng didn't press her any further. He brought her out of the rapidly withering forest and towards the end of the ancient path. Mu Linger, do you know how long it'll take for us to reach the end of this path? Yi Chunfeng asked as they walked. Soon. There are still 2 more trials ahead. Once we pass them, we can leave the path of life and death. Mu Linger said softly as she skipped along behind Yi Chunfeng. What are those 2 trials? Yi Chunfeng asked. The closest trial to us is an evil big sister. She's very, very fierce and powerful. I can't beat her. As for the final test, it's the heavenly Tao steel. But I don't know how strong that steel is, but I've seen people who challenged it before get crushed in an instant. Mu Linger told Yi Chunfeng everything she knew. There are still 2 more trials. We're finally at the end of the trial space. Although Yi Chunfeng wasn't clear on the difficulty of the last 2 trials, he was confident in his own strength. He was confident that he could pass them all. That's right, Mu Linger. Are you really from this universe? And how did you get trapped here? Yi Chunfeng was curious about Mu Linger's identity. I forgot everything. Mu Linger glanced at Yi Chunfeng and shook her head. Yi Chunfeng could sense that Mu Linger was hiding many secrets, but since she wasn't willing to open her heart to him, Yi Chunfeng didn't press her. Big brother, do you see that group of white clouds floating slowly in front of us? That evil sister was hiding in the clouds. She's very fierce, so you have to be careful when you fight her. Mu Linger pointed at the giant cloud in front of them with a vigilant expression. Alright, wait for me here. I'll go meet her. Yi Chunfeng nodded and slowly walked towards the white cloud with heavy steps. As he got closer and closer, Yi Chunfeng's aura grew stronger and stronger. Under the amplification of his Grand Mist bloodline, the life and death test space could no longer suppress Yi Chunfeng. His terrifying aura caused the air to surge. When Yi Chunfeng was 3 meters away from the white cloud, the entire cloud began to fluctuate violently like a stormy sea. In an instant, it transformed into a terrifying white hand. With 100 billion gene of power, it attacked Yi Chunfeng. Boom! Before the white hand could reach Yi Chunfeng's body, it was shattered by the powerful force that emanated from his body. It turned into wisps of white smoke and dissipated with the wind. Don't hide anymore. Hurry and show yourself. With the god-devouring brain's calculations, Yi Chunfeng had long locked onto the woman hidden in the white cloud. Her entire body was fused with the clouds as she drifted about unpredictably. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Just as Yi Chunfeng finished speaking, the boiling clouds quickly transformed into thousands of extremely fast cloud swords, attacking Yi Chunfeng in a densely packed manner. Since you don't want to show yourself, I'll beat you out. 3,000 transforming divinity fist. Yi Chunfeng possessed limitless ancestral power, so he had no qualms about using supreme divine abilities. He punched out, creating 3,000 fist auras that crushed the incoming cloud swords as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. He punched into the violently tumbling cloud layer, and the terrifying fist aura directly pierced through the cloud layer, forcing out the woman hiding within. Supreme divine ability. Feeling the power of the 3,000 god-transforming fist, a woman in green armor who was not tall, but had an enchanting appearance, and whose plump peaks trembled, exclaimed in shock. She was emitting a cold aura. She suppressed the surging chi and blood in her body. I didn't expect you to have such knowledge, Yi Chunfeng said indifferently, but his eyes gradually turned cold. This was because he sensed that the blood of the celestials flowed in the woman's body. He suspected that she was a celestial. How about we make a deal? Take me out of here, and I'll help you obtain the ultimate secret of this place. The woman looked at Xiang Chunfeng from afar, and felt that he was not simple. She said softly, "You're so confident that I can pass?" Yi Chunfeng smiled. "I feel that you're not simple. You might be able to create a miracle," the woman said patiently. "If you can really take me out of here, I can even be your woman and serve you for the rest of your life." "Forget it. I'm not interested in the people of the Celestials. If I keep you by my side, I'm afraid you'll eat me." Yi Chunfeng shook his head and rejected her directly. "You really don't want to think about it? If you dual cultivate with me, whether it's your body or your soul, you will be able to reach a higher level. This is something that many people will never be able to enjoy in their entire lives." The woman licked her lips and said seductively, "Not interested." Yi Chunfeng shook his head and said, "Don't waste time. Make your move." All right. Tian Wushuang will definitely make you regret it." Tian Wushuang did not expect Yi Chunfeng to reject him so thoroughly. He flew into a rage out of humiliation. Surging heavenly energy gushed out of his body, turning into a sky-shaking wave behind him that swept through the entire space. If you were a peak ancestor realm almighty, you might have this strength. However, you only have the strength of a peak 2-star heavenly ancestor. I'm afraid your attack won't even be able to touch the corner of my clothes." Yi Chunfeng shook his head and replied domineeringly. He activated the invincible sword body and formed a domain of swords around his body. Die. As a top genius of the Imperial Celestial Clan, when had Tian Wushuang ever been looked down upon like this? He controlled the giant wave formed from his Tao intent and swept towards Yi Chunfeng, wanting to crush him. Rumble! The surging waves swept over, and the entire space was rioting. The entire space suddenly fell into chaos. Domain of swords, break! Facing the powerful Tao intent giant wave, Yi Chunfeng was fearless. He took a light step forward, and the domain of swords expanded infinitely, directly swallowing the incoming giant wave. In the next moment, under the powerful attack of the domain of swords, the Tao intent giant wave that was enough to kill a 2-star ancestor realm almighty was shattered. Before it could even touch Yi Chunfeng's body, it disappeared within the domain of swords. Domain, how can you control the power of a domain? Tian Wushuang's eyes widened as she looked at Yi Chunfeng in shock. It could be said that Yi Chunfeng's methods had broken her understanding of domains, causing her to feel deeply uneasy. "You are a person who is about to die. There is no need for you to know so much," Yi Chunfeng said coldly. "Wait!" As a top genius of the Imperial Sky Clan, Tian Wushuang was deeply aware of the terror of domains. It could be said that Yi Chunfeng was already in an invincible position when he cultivated to the Void God realm. It was impossible for her to defeat him. "I am not your opponent. I will give up on being your enemy. You can continue to advance." Under the deterrence of the domain of swords, Tian Wushuang had no choice but to lower her noble head and say sullenly, "You will give up on being my enemy? But I have no intention of letting you go." The celestial race was Yi Chunfeng's greatest enemy, and also the spirit race's enemy. Although Tian Wushuang was extremely beautiful, Yi Chunfeng did not show mercy to her and attacked her with the domain of swords. "Wait, as long as you are willing to let me go, I am willing to agree to any of your conditions, including my body." After seeing Yi Chunfeng's heaven-defying methods, Tian Wushuang felt that Yi Chunfeng might really be able to create a miracle. Once he passed through all the tests in the Death Cave, she might have a chance to escape and leave this damned place. Not interested. Yi Chunfeng was unmoved. He controlled the domain of swords and attacked, directly engulfing the pale Tian Wushuang. He mobilized the powerful domain of swords and crazily attacked. Chapter 1947. Big bro, you're really too powerful. You killed that evil woman so quickly. Mu Linger, who was hiding in the distance, was disappointed by Yi Qinfeng's strength. She ran over with a face full of excitement. Since you know how powerful I am, can you tell me in advance what kind of outer-verse arts you've mastered? Yi Qinfeng smiled faintly as he looked at Mu Linger's charming face. Big bro, don't be in such a rush. As long as you take Linger away, Linger will definitely fulfill her promise. Mu Linger shook her head. Alright. Seeing the tight-lipped Mu Linger, Yi Qinfeng sighed softly before taking her further away. About an hour later, Yi Qinfeng saw a large swath of black clouds in front of him. Even the god-devouring brain's powerful deductions couldn't see through the clouds to sense the space beyond. Big bro, the heavenly Tao steels are hidden in the black clouds. Looking at the black clouds from a distance, the mischievous Mu Linger couldn't help but reveal a solemn expression as she spoke in a low voice. Alright, wait for me here. I'll go break through the heavenly Tao steels. Yi Qinfeng nodded and walked alone towards the intimidating black clouds. What a powerful spatial pressure! As he neared the clouds, Yi Qinfeng immediately felt a powerful suppressive force emanating from them that made his steps grow heavy. The spatial pressure grew stronger and stronger, but it didn't affect Yi Qinfeng's step. As he continuously raised his physical strength to resist the spatial pressure, he walked into the clouds and saw 18 sacred steels floating above them. They were as tall as mountains and emanated powerful Tao intent. The heavenly Tao steels test either pass or die. Inheritor, do you accept the challenge? Yi Qinfeng was enduring the immense spatial pressure as he stared at the heavenly Tao steels when a deep voice rose to Yi Qinfeng's ears. I accept the challenge. Although the 18 heavenly Tao steels were powerful, they were still within Yi Qinfeng's limits. Alright, since that's the case, let's begin the trial of the heavenly Tao tablet. As he spoke, the 18 steels of heaven's Tao began to spin rapidly, transforming into a profound polygonal formation that locked onto Yi Qinfeng. At the next moment, the polygonal array diagram shone with a light that was even more dazzling than the sun. An extremely huge light pillar that resembled a waterfall shot out from the array diagram, attacking Yi Qinfeng. 3,000 God-transforming fist break. Yi Qinfeng unleashed all the energy in his body. He instantly blasted out 3,000 fist lights, smashing them into the waterfall-like light pillars. The terrifying might of the fist lights shattered the light pillars, and the remaining might of the fist lights slammed into the array diagram formed by the 18 heavenly Tao steels, causing the array diagram to tremble violently. Buzz buzz buzz. When the heavenly Tao steels were attacked, a large number of dark golden words appeared on the smooth surface of the mirror-like steels. They fused into the array diagram, increasing the power of the array diagram as it continued to bombard Yi Qinfeng. However, under the continuous attacks of Yi Qinfeng's 3,000 God-transforming fist, the array diagram's light pillars were unable to harm Yi Qinfeng at all. Under the ferocious attacks, the god-devouring brain that was rapidly deducing even captured the flaws of the array diagram. Ancestor class, sword soul, break. After locking onto the flaws of the array diagram, Yi Qinfeng immediately controlled the ancestor class, sword soul, to fly out of his soul sea. It turned into a black light in midair, stabbing at the flaws of the array diagram at a speed that was dozens of times faster than the speed of light. Ka ka ka. Cracks appeared on the surface of the array diagram. Under the attack of the ancestor-class Sword Soul, the array diagram formed by the 18 heavenly Tao steels nearly shattered. Seizing the opportunity of the array diagram shattering, Yi Qinfeng flew up into the sky and approached the 18 heavenly Tao steels that were hidden above the black clouds. Infinite Primal Chaos. Yi Qinfeng activated the invincible sword body and used his hand as a sword to deliver an invincible strike. As the sword slashed out, the phantom of the Chaos Divine Tree appeared. Together with the invincible sword body, the 4 ultimate Tao diagrams that were rapidly deduced, and a force of more than 1 trillion gene fused together to strike a massive heavenly Tao steel. Boom! The heavenly Tao steel could not withstand the attack of the infinite primal chaos and instantly shattered. But the moment the heavenly Tao steel shattered, the remaining 17 heavenly Tao steels attacked Yi Chunfeng at the same time, wanting to pulverize him. Sword domain break. Yi Chunfeng quickly propped up his sword domain and forcefully weakened the energy released by the 17 heavenly Tao steels. Using the same move, he used the infinite primal chaos to continue attacking the heavenly Tao steels. Boom, boom, boom. Deafening explosions kept ringing out from the chaotic black clouds. Yi Chunfeng was like an invincible god of war. Stepping on the black clouds, he continuously unleashed terrifying divine abilities, bombarding the incomparably tall and sturdy heavenly Tao tablet. In less than 30 breaths' time, 6 heavenly Tao steels were pulverized by Yi Chunfeng. Meanwhile, the greatly weakened formation diagrams were also pierced through by the ancestral sword soul. So strong, so strong. Mu Linger, who was hiding in the distance, looked at Yi Chunfeng with a face full of worship. She was filled with regret at the strength he displayed when he forcibly shattered the heavenly Tao steels. I'm finally going to leave this damned place. When she thought of the colorful world outside, Mu Linger's delicate face couldn't help but reveal an enchanting smile. All of you break for me. Yi Chunfeng raised the power of his celestial domain to its limits. While blocking the attacks of the remaining heavenly Tao steels, he did his best to shatter them one by one. After another 30 breaths' time, only 5 of the 18 heavenly Tao steels remained. The rest were all pulverized by Yi Chunfeng's most powerful attack. What kind of power is this? Just as Yi Chunfeng was preparing to continue his attacks, the god-devouring brain suddenly sensed the fragments of the heavenly Tao steels rapidly fusing together in the black clouds as if giving birth to a new life. In its moment of hesitation, the remaining 5 heavenly Tao steels simultaneously attacked Yi Chunfeng. I didn't expect the trial of the heavenly Tao steels to be far from over. Sensing that the life form nurtured by the shattered tablet of heavenly Tao was getting stronger and stronger, Yi Chunfeng guessed that there would be even more dangerous dangers waiting for him. Still, he wasn't afraid. Nor did he slow down his attacks, but continued to use the boundless primal chaos and the 3,000 deification fists to bombard the heavenly Tao steels one by one. Finally, under his relentless efforts, all 18 heavenly Tao steels were destroyed by him. But at this moment, an unforeseen event occurred within the black clouds. As the 18 heavenly Tao steels shattered, the energy released from them rapidly converged to form a life form within the black cloud. This life form was very strong, far surpassing Yi Chunfeng's cultivation level to the peak of the 4-star ancestor realm. A spiritual body. Yi Chunfeng's eyes lit up when he sensed the 18 heavenly Tao steels shattering to form a spiritual body. Chapter 1948. Inheritor, I'm your final test. As long as you can defeat me within the limited time, you can leave this place and accept the ultimate test. The soul formed by the 18 tablets of heaven's Tao became clearer and clearer. However, because he didn't have any facial features, his speech was very strange. Ultimate test. This means that after passing this life and death test, there's only the final test left. Yi Chunfeng said. That's right. After passing the life and death test, there's only the final test left. The soul said. However, what you should be thinking about now isn't the final test but how to defeat me. Alright, let's do it then. Although Yi Chunfeng had just shattered the 18 tablets of heaven's Tao and consumed a lot of energy, Yi Chunfeng's foundation was too deep. He also had the primordial blood, chaos divine wood, god-eater brain, and other heaven-defying items. The soul of the heavenly Tao was no threat to him. It seems that you're very confident in your own strength. However, if you want to pass the test, you have to defeat me within 30 minutes. If you can't do it, You'll be suppressed by the power of the death cave and stay here forever. The soul of the heavenly Tao said. 30 minutes! Yi Chenfeng didn't expect that there would be such a harsh requirement to defeat the soul of the heavenly Tao. Come on, 30 minutes is enough. Yi Chenfeng replied domineeringly. The invincible sword physique was fully activated by him. Surges of soaring sword intent gushed out from his body, messing up the space. Arrogant brat! The soul of the heavenly Tao raised its speed to the peak and deduced a powerful Tao. It turned into a stream of light and attacked Yi Chenfeng. Sword domain. As the soul of the heavenly Tao attacked, Yi Chenfeng expanded his sword domain and instantly engulfed the soul of the heavenly Tao. He made use of the sword domain to quickly kill the soul of the heavenly Tao. However, the soul of the heavenly Tao was far more difficult to deal with than Yi Chenfeng had imagined. After being attacked by the sword domain, he instantly transformed into several mirror images. They joined forces to attack the sword domain. Mirror image clone. Seeing the soul of the heavenly Tao splitting into 10 copies, Yi Chenfeng also instantly transformed into 3 mirror images and attacked the soul of the heavenly Tao. Life and death space break. The mirror images created by the heavenly Tao's soul were constantly being broken. The mirror image clone did not hesitate to communicate with the life and death space, borrowing the power of the life and death space to attack the sword domain. Boom boom boom. Under the attack of the space of life and death, Yi Chenfeng was under tremendous pressure. Cracks began to appear in his sword domain. Sword domain, exterminate. Yi Chenfeng pushed the power of the invincible sword body to the maximum. He controlled the sword area to quickly attack the soul of the Way of the Sky. He wanted to kill the soul of the Way of the Sky before the life and death space destroyed the sword area. However, the power of the space of life and death was too terrifying. Yi Chenfeng's invincible sword body could not withstand the endless attacks of the space of life and death. In the end, it was broken by the space of life and death. Pu. With his domain of swords broken, Yi Chenfeng immediately suffered a backlash. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. Yi Chenfeng was injured, but the heavenly soul's injuries weren't light either. The terrifying sword domain had pierced thousands of holes through his soul, and the mirror images he had transformed into were all shattered by Yi Chenfeng's mirror image doppelganger. You're really a monster. You've actually condensed a complete domain with the strength of a 2-star Tao ancestor. However, it's not that easy to defeat me. After experiencing the terror of the sword domain, the soul of the heavenly Tao no longer took the initiative to attack. Instead, it used its unpredictable speed to stall for time. As long as the time it takes for an incense stick to burn past, Yi Chenfeng would fail the test and be suppressed here forever by the death cave. That's a good idea, but you're a little slow. Yi Chenfeng suddenly sped up the flow of time by 10 times. He stepped onto his sword and flew straight up, unleashing a ferocious attack on the wounded soul of the heavenly Tao. The power of the space of life and death suppress. The soul of the heavenly Tao didn't expect Yi Chenfeng to be so fast. It quickly mobilized the power of the space of life and death to suppress Yi Chenfeng. Chaos Divine Wood, come out. At this time, Yi Chenfeng summoned his fiercest trump card. The Chaos Divine Wood, which emitted the light of the 5 elements of chaos, came out of his body. It kept growing bigger and bigger, holding up heaven and earth, resisting the suppression of the space of life and death. How is this possible? How can you use external force in the space of life and death? Looking at the Chaos Divine Wood, which tore through the power of the space of life and death, the soul of the heavenly Tao showed an expression of disbelief. It could be said that Yi Chenfeng's means were far beyond its imagination. It shocked and terrified it even more. Yi Chenfeng didn't answer the soul of the heavenly Tao. He controlled the Chaos Divine Wood to sway rapidly, releasing the light of the 5 elements of chaos. It constantly tore through the space of life and death and attacked the soul of the heavenly Tao. The soul of the heavenly Tao's strength was equivalent to a 4-star ancestor realm expert. Because it was a soul body, its defense wasn't strong. It couldn't withstand the light of the 5 elements of chaos at all. It could only continue to transform into afterimages of speed and dodge with all its might, stalling for time. Alright, the test can end now. While the soul of the heavenly Tao was dodging with all its might, Yi Chunfeng controlled the chaos divine wood to extend a large number of 5-colored roots, forming a prison. While attacking the afterimages of speed, it trapped the soul of the heavenly Tao in the prison and limited its speed. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng summoned the God-Eater brain and entered the prison to devour the soul of the heavenly Tao. No, what is this thing? Sensing the danger brought by the God-Eater brain, the soul of the heavenly Tao sensed a deep sense of danger and let out a long cry of horror. At this moment, the God-Eater brain released a powerful devouring force and attacked the heavily injured soul of the heavenly Tao. It frantically devoured his soul body and weakened his strength. Wait, don't devour me. I'll send you out of here to accept the ultimate test. The soul of the heavenly Tao had already developed intelligence and was unwilling to dissipate into the world. He had no choice but to beg for mercy. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Just let me devour you. Yi Chunfeng was unmoved. He controlled the God-Eater brain to transform into a terrifying devouring vortex that devoured the soul of the heavenly Tao. No, killing me won't do you any good. I can tell you the secret of the ultimate test. I can tell you how to pass the ultimate test and obtain the ultimate treasure. After being devoured by the God-Eater brain, the soul of the heavenly Tao continued to beg for mercy, tempting Yi Chunfeng. Not interested. Although no one had passed the Spirit Clan's ultimate test, Yi Chunfeng was full of confidence in himself. Moreover, he didn't trust the soul of the heavenly Tao. He controlled the God-Eater brain to continue devouring him as nourishment. Space of life and death attack. When the soul of the heavenly Tao saw that Yi Chunfeng wasn't moved and insisted on devouring him, it didn't hesitate to use the power of the space of life and death to form layers of suppressive force to attack the Chaos Divine Wood. But the Chaos Divine Wood was too terrifying. The power of the space of life and death couldn't harm it at all. After half a stick of incense's time, the struggling soul of the heavenly Tao was completely devoured by the God-Eater brain. Yi Chunfeng easily passed the soul of the heavenly Tao's test. The God-Eater brain is finally starting to form a child brain. Yi Chunfeng rejoiced when he sensed the God-Eater brain devouring the soul of the heavenly Tao and slowly forming a child brain. He had a feeling that if the God-Eater brain could form a new child brain, it might have a chance to control the Void Spirit. Crack! The black clouds dispersed to reveal a spatial tunnel at the end of the space of life and death that led to the ultimate test. Mu Linger, let's go! Yi Chunfeng immediately brought Mu Linger out of the space of life and death to the ultimate test. Chapter 1949. A pagoda, a 10-story pagoda. After entering the final test space, Yi Chunfeng saw a 10-story pagoda appear before his eyes. The top of the pagoda was inlaid with a giant crystal. The pagoda was engraved with ancient mythological beasts that exuded a divine aura. It was over 100 zhang tall. Beneath the pagoda sat an old man with sparse hair, a face full of wrinkles and spots, and a strong aura of death emanating from his body. Sensing Yi Chunfeng and Mu Linger's appearance, the old man suddenly opened his turbid eyes to look at them. Inheritor, your previous performance was very stunning. You could be said to be the most stunning person to have received the Spirit Clan's ultimate inheritance in countless years. You should have a chance to pass the final test and obtain the opportunity left behind by I, the old man said slowly. Although the old man spoke softly, his words were like a clap of thunder that exploded in Yi Chunfeng's ears. Senior, you're the Spirit Clan's ancestor. You left behind all the inheritance grounds in the Spirit Clan's realms? The old man's words created waves in Yi Chunfeng's heart. He never expected the old man before him to have such a great background. "That's right, I'm the Spirit Clan's ancestor," the old man nodded. "All the inheritance grounds were set up by me. Senior, I have a question to ask you." Yi Chunfeng stared at the old man surrounded by the aura of death. "If I'm not wrong, Senior should be a half-step void spirit realm cultivator. With Senior's strength, why didn't you help when the Spirit Clan was destroyed?" "It wasn't that I didn't want to help, but that I didn't dare." The old man seemed to have guessed Yi Chunfeng's question and continued, "Although there are rumors in the celestial domain that the Spirit Clan was destroyed because of the God Clan, that's not the truth. The real reason for the Spirit Clan's destruction was because of me." "Does Senior have something that the Celestial Clan is jealous of?" Yi Chunfeng's eyebrows twitched as he guessed the truth. "Junior, you're very smart." The old man nodded and said, "My Spirit Clan was destroyed because the Celestial Clan wanted to lure me out and obtain the 2 treasures in my hands. Senior, I wonder what kind of treasure you possess to make the Tian Clan so jealous?" Yi Chunfeng became more and more curious. "These 2 treasures are in the Divine Spirit Tower behind me. If you can pass the Divine Spirit Tower's test, you will know what these 2 treasures are." The old man slowly said, "However, the trial of the Divine Spirit Pagoda is very difficult. Back then, many geniuses from the Void God world made it here and eventually died inside the pagoda. Senior, may I know what the test of this Divine Spirit Pagoda is?" Yi Chunfeng asked. "Within a year, reach the 10th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda and complete the 10,000 slaughter," the elder said. 10,000 slaughter. Yi Chunfeng frowned slightly and said, "Senior, I wonder how strong the testers in this Divine Spirit Pagoda are? The strength of the Holy Spirit on the 1st level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda is roughly equivalent to a 4-star Divine level expert. However, other than the 4-star Divine level expert, various natural phenomena will appear in the Divine Spirit Pagoda to attack me. The strength of the Holy Spirit on the 2nd level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda is 1 realm higher than the 1st level, equivalent to a 5-star Divine level expert, and the strength of the Holy Spirit on the 10th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda is equivalent to a 6-star Ancestor realm expert. Other than the Holy Spirit, there are also 20 inheritors who failed the test back then but did not die. They are restricted by the rules. When they discover you, they will kill you at all costs because if they can kill you, they will replace you and regain the qualifications to challenge the Divine Spirit Pagoda." The old man explained in detail. "Then, Senior, can I borrow external forces when I challenge the pagoda?" Yi Chunfeng never thought that the difficulty of challenging the Divine Spirit Pagoda would be so high. Especially the 10th level, it was even more troublesome for him. With his current strength, facing 1,000 6-star Ancestor realm experts, he could be killed in an instant. "The 2 great treasures that I have are no small matter. Only the most outstanding geniuses deserve to have them. Therefore, the conditions for challenging the Divine Spirit Pagoda are very harsh. You cannot borrow any external forces." The old man shook his head and said, "However, your Chaos Divine Wood is beyond the restraint of the Divine Spirit Pagoda and is not restricted by the rules. Senior, I would like to meditate here for a period of time before challenging the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Is that possible?" In order to successfully pass the level and complete the 10,000 slaughter, which no one had ever completed before, Yi Chunfeng decided to raise his strength at all costs. Only by raising his strength to a 3-star Dao Ancestor and using the trump cards that he had, could he possibly complete the challenge. "Yes, you have 3 years to meditate. After 3 years, if you still want to meditate, you will have to use 1 year of the time that you challenged the Divine Spirit Pagoda." The old man nodded and said, 3 years is enough." Although 3 years was very short, Yi Chunfeng had the heaven-defying trump card of the Cosmos Realm. In the Cosmos Realm, time flowed 30 times faster, which was equivalent to him having 90 years, which was enough for him to break through to the 3-star Tao Ancestor realm. Senior, I am going to meditate. Within 3 years, I will definitely come out. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng entered the 5th level of the Cosmos realm. He took out a medium-grade Ancestor elixir and swallowed it, quickly refining it. Junior, I hope you can succeed. Otherwise, I may not be able to continue guarding. The old man, who was surrounded by a strong death chi, sighed softly and said in his heart, although he was a half-step empty god, he was not eternal. After guarding this place for so many years, he was already at the end of his life and was about to reach the end. If no one could pass the ultimate test that he had left behind, all of his plans would be destroyed. He did not know where the 2 great treasures that he had in his possession would go. The power that the medium-grade Ancestor elixir contained was extremely strong. When it rolled into Yi Chunfeng's body, it immediately released a strong energy that flowed through his crisscrossing meridians. Yi Chunfeng used the Chaos Divine Wood to suppress the energy released by the medium-grade Ancestor elixir and controlled his body to absorb it quickly, increasing his strength. Soon, 10 years passed. In these 10 years, Yi Chunfeng had refined 2 medium-grade Ancestor elixirs and forcibly raised his strength to the limit of a 2-star Tao Ancestor. Feeling that the time was right, Yi Chunfeng took out 2 Chaos Divine Fruits that contained part of the domain essence and swallowed them. He used the power of the Chaos Divine Fruits to break through to the 3-star Tao Ancestor realm. The energy contained in the Chaos Divine Fruits was purer and stronger than that of the medium-grade Ancestor elixir. The 2 Chaos Divine Fruits melted in Yi Chunfeng's body and immediately released a strong chaos energy. Under the control of Yi Chunfeng's mind, it began to break through the powerful bottleneck of the cultivation realm. As Yi Chunfeng had directly used elixirs to increase his strength, his cultivation foundation was somewhat unstable. He encountered a lot of trouble when breaking through to the 3-star Tao Ancestor realm. However, Yi Chunfeng still had 6 Chaos Divine Fruit. 3 of them contained a complete domain essence, which was enough for him to break through to the 3-star Tao Ancestor realm in the remaining 80 years. Suppressing his loneliness, Yi Chunfeng constantly stimulated his potential and crazily absorbed the 2 Chaos Divine Fruits to break through the bottleneck of the cultivation realm. Very soon, 20 years passed. After 20 years of cultivation, Yi Chunfeng had refined 2 more Chaos Divine Fruits that contained part of the domain essence. His body had accumulated a vast amount of chaos energy. Under his perseverance, a large number of cracks appeared on the tough bottleneck of the cultivation realm. He could faintly feel the power of a 3-star Tao Ancestor. Phew, it's time to break through. Chapter 1950. Breakthrough, I've finally broken through. The moment he broke through, Yi Chunfeng woke up from his cultivation. Although this breakthrough was too sudden and caused Yi Chunfeng's cultivation foundation to be unstable, he believed that challenging the Divine Spirit Pagoda would allow him to train well and consolidate his cultivation foundation. Senior, I can start the challenge now. Yi Chunfeng consolidated his realm and left the universe realm, arriving in front of the old man. 3-star Tao Ancestor. Sensing Yi Chunfeng's realm, the old man's eyes lit up. Successor, you're more outstanding than I imagined. I hope you can succeed. The old man revealed a rare smile and formed several complicated hand seals to open the heavy door of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Don't worry, Senior. I'll definitely pass and complete the 10,000 slaughter. After saying that, Yi Chunfeng's body flashed and turned into a stream of light as he flew into the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Rumble! Yi Chunfeng had just entered the first level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda when he heard the deafening sound of thunder. A large amount of lightning appeared without warning and bombarded Yi Chunfeng with terrifying destructive power. After breaking through to the 3-star Tao Ancestor realm, Yi Chunfeng's physical body was even stronger. The violent lightning formed by the first level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda could not hurt him at all. Yi Chunfeng flew away at an extremely fast speed as he endured the attacks of the extremely destructive lightning bolt. After flying for a short while, he discovered a large number of sacred spirits in front of him. They were holding various divine weapons and wearing battle armor, exuding a terrifying aura. In addition to these sacred spirits, the God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, also felt the power of the array formation in the Divine Spirit Pagoda. So these sacred spirits were not formed by the Divine Spirit Pagoda alone. They were formed by fusing the array formation and tens of thousands of sacred crystals. The God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, discovered the secret of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. The discovery of this secret was crucial to Yi Chunfeng. When he entered the 10th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, he could use this secret to weaken the power of the 6-star Ancestor Realm sacred spirits and complete the 10,000 slaughter that no one had ever completed before. Kill! In order to conserve his strength, Yi Chunfeng did not ignite his Grand Mist blood or activate his invincible sword body. Instead, he erupted with over 400 billion genes of strength and charged forward like an enraged ancient beast. Pung pung pung. Although there were many holy spirits in the first level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, a 4-star deity realm strength was not enough to pose any threat to Yi Chunfeng. Any holy spirit that approached Yi Chunfeng's body would be crushed by his powerful physical body. Rumble! While Yi Chunfeng was crazily killing, a black cloud suddenly appeared above his head. A large amount of lightning broke through the black cloud, carrying a terrifying destructive power, continuously attacking Yi Chunfeng's body. Ancestral Sword Soul break. With a thought, Yi Chunfeng's ancestral sword soul flew out of his soul sea and instantly transformed into a black streak that was dozens of feet long. The sword had split open the dark clouds that were filled with a large amount of lightning energy and destroyed the heavenly anomaly. Without the heavenly anomaly's attack, Yi Chunfeng's killing speed was even faster. Very soon, the 1,000 holy spirits that had swarmed towards Yi Chunfeng like a tidal wave had their bodies smashed into smithereens by Yi Chunfeng. Gotcha! When Yi Chunfeng killed the 1,000 holy spirits, a spatial crack appeared in the chaotic void. While enduring the powerful spatial pressure, Yi Chunfeng arrived at the 2nd level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Yellow sand, endless yellow sand. After entering the 2nd level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, Yi Chunfeng realized that there was an endless yellow sand in front of him. In the yellow sand there were 5 poison beasts that contained deadly poison. True Spirit Sacred Flame. Looking at the 5 poison beasts that were emitting poisonous gas, Yi Chunfeng immediately spat out the extremely hot True Spirit Sacred Flame, melting the 5 poison beasts that were close to him. While Yi Chunfeng was frantically melting the 5 poison beasts, he suddenly felt a powerful spatial pressure appear in the void. Looking up, he saw a towering mountain appear in the sky. It shook the space in a radius of several miles and ruthlessly pressed down. Looking at the approaching mountain, that was enough to crush an ordinary divine realm expert into a meat patty, Yi Chunfeng's expression didn't change. He controlled his ancestral sword soul to meet it head-on and split the mountain in half. After the mountain shattered, a large number of 5-star divine realm holy spirits emerged from the shattered mountain. They held all kinds of divine weapons in their hands and launched a ferocious attack at Yi Chunfeng. Dragon Subduing Pillar. Yi Chunfeng relied on his powerful physical defense to withstand the oncoming attack. He instantly condensed 9 stone pillars that had giant dragons coiling around them. Although the Dragon Subduing Pillar's grade was extremely low, Yi Chunfeng had comprehended 4 ancestral realm Tao insights. When he derived the 4 ultimate Tao diagrams to the extreme, the Dragon Subduing Pillar that he condensed was enough to suppress the heavens and earth. It shattered the bodies of the 5-star divine spirits that were close to him. After condensing the Dragon Subduing Pillar and killing more than 300 5-star divine spirits at lightning speed, Yi Chunfeng continued to advance. He killed the divine spirit experts that emerged from the yellow sand and tried to sneak up on him. In just over 2 hours, Yi Chunfeng had killed 1,000 5-star divine spirits on the second floor of the divine spirit tower and entered the third floor. What a fast speed! The old man had been paying attention to Yi Chunfeng as he challenged the tower. When the old man realized that Yi Chunfeng had used less than 4 hours to enter the third floor, he revealed a trace of shock. He was shocked by the speed at which Yi Chunfeng killed his enemies. What a high temperature! After entering the third floor of the Divine Spirit Tower, Yi Chunfeng realized that there was boiling lava on both sides of him. The entire space was distorted by the heat emitted from the lava. Pung! 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 Yi Chunfeng stepped in the middle of the lava. When he advanced on the only stone path, huge fireballs emerged from the boiling lava. They were like flaming meteors with long tails as they attacked Yi Chunfeng. When Yi Chunfeng exploded with nearly 1 trillion pounds of strength and waved his fist to shatter the fireballs, 6-star divine realm divine spirits suddenly emerged from the shattered fireballs and attacked Yi Chunfeng with extreme speed. Although the attacks of the divine spirits hidden in the fireballs were sudden, Yi Chunfeng had already sensed the danger with the God-Eater brain's senses and attacked in advance. As streaks of extremely sharp sword light shot out from his body, the 6-star divine realm divine spirits that tried to sneak up on him were directly split apart by the sharp sword light. Their bodies dissipated in the air. Sword steps. The intertwining sharp sword light killed the divine spirits that tried to sneak up on him. Yi Chunfeng controlled the ancestral sword spirit and fused it into his body as he walked with the sword step. Under the amplification of the ancestral sword soul, every step he took, a profound sword diagram would form under his feet. It continuously pierced through and killed the 6-star God realm holy spirits that had jumped out of the lava and ambushed him. Powerful. This inheritor is more powerful than I imagined. I really want to know how great his potential is. In order to clearly witness the process of Yi Chunfeng's breakthrough, the old man didn't hesitate to form a light mirror to observe Yi Chunfeng's every move. When he saw Yi Chunfeng with his hands behind his back and leisurely walking with the sword steps and killing the divine spirits that tried to sneak up on him, he started to value Yi Chunfeng even more. About 4 hours later, Yi Chunfeng walked with the sword steps and arrived at the end of the stone path that was scorched red by the lava. Along the way, he controlled the profound sword diagram and killed 999 6-star divine realm divine spirit. There was only one divine spirit that was hiding at the end of the stone path. Chapter 1951. Screech. Seeing Yi Chunfeng walk over step by step, the 6-star godly realm holy spirit that had just gained intelligence let out a ghostly cry. However, Yi Chunfeng's strength was too terrifying, so he didn't dare to take the initiative to attack. Instead, he hid behind the white skeleton. Don't hide, it's useless. Yi Chunfeng took a step forward, and the power of sword Dao gushed out from his body. It instantly transformed into a 3-meter-long divine sword that was entwined with Dao intent like chains of order. It slashed towards the last 6-star godly realm holy spirit. However, the moment Yi Chunfeng attacked the 6-star godly realm holy spirit, a powerful death energy suddenly surged out from the white skeleton that had been dead for an unknown number of years. It transformed into a large black hand that grabbed at Yi Chunfeng without any warning. Yi Chunfeng raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect the lifeless white skeleton to take the initiative to attack. However, his reaction was extremely fast. He threw a punch at the black hand that was grabbing at him. More than 400 billion kilograms of strength surged out and directly destroyed the black hand. It slammed into the white skeleton and shattered the white skeleton that was flowing with light. The last 6-star godly realm holy spirit also died under the 3-meter-long divine sword. Gotcha! After destroying the white skeleton and the last 6-star godly realm holy spirit, the spatial entrance immediately appeared. Yi Chunfeng didn't hesitate at all. He endured the powerful spatial pressure and quickly charged into the fourth level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. After fusing the array and a large amount of pure saint crystals, the Holy Spirit on the fourth level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda had the strength of a half-ancestor. Such a terrifying power, if placed in the outside world, would be enough to sweep away all the forces in the heaven region. Forest, the fourth level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, is actually a forest. Looking at the vast and boundless forest in front of him, Yi Chunfeng didn't stop. He stepped on the scattered branches on the ground and walked into the forest step by step. Not long after, the God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, sensed danger approaching. An old face appeared on the ancient trees, which were hundreds of feet tall and required 7 or 8 people to wrap their arms around them. When these aged faces opened their eyes at the same time, they released world-shaking roars at Yi Chunfeng that could shatter boulders, attacking him from all directions. Sonic attack. Suddenly, Yi Chunfeng was attacked by the sound waves released by the ancient trees. Immediately, he controlled the powerful spatial power to form layers upon layers of spatial seals around him, blocking off the earth-shattering sound wave. Following that, the continuously evolving God-Eater brain rapidly deduced, forming an even more powerful sound of the Great Tao, attacking the awakened ancient trees. Under the attack of the sonorous voice of the Great Tao, the awakened ancient trees shattered one after another. The space around Yi Chunfeng turned into a vacuum, without a single ancient tree. After releasing the sound of the Great Tao and shattering the ancient trees that were attacking him, Yi Chunfeng didn't slow down and continued forward. Not long after, his sharp senses sensed danger again. One after another, the half-ancestor holy spirits hidden in the ancient trees appeared, wielding extremely sharp divine weapons, and attacked Yi Chunfeng. Ancestor Sword Spirit Destroy. With a thought, the Ancestor Sword Spirit flew out of Yi Chunfeng's soul sea. Like an angry black dragon, it unceasingly destroyed the attacks of the half-ancestor holy spirits, turning them into lumps of light mist. Under the attack of the ancestral sword soul, the half-martial ancestor sacred spirit on the fourth floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda couldn't stop Yi Chunfeng at all. Similarly, the continuously awakening spirit of the Ancient Wood couldn't threaten Yi Chunfeng. Very soon, Yi Chunfeng crazily massacred all the holy spirits on the fourth floor like a hot knife through butter. He tore open a space entrance and entered the fifth floor. In less than a day, you have reached the fifth floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. This speed should have broken the record for the fastest tower challenge. The old man's eyes lit up, the anticipation on his face became even stronger. However, the true test begins from the fifth floor of the Tower of Trials. I hope you can create a miracle. Lake, what a huge lake! After entering the fifth floor of the Tower of Trials, Yi Chunfeng saw a huge lake appear in front of him. Incomparably huge, strange fish jumped out of the lake from time to time, creating huge splashes on the surface of the lake. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. The first 5 floors of the Divine Spirit Pagoda contain the Tao intent of the 5 elements. I wonder what kind of phenomena will appear later on. Yi Chunfeng muttered to himself. He flew up into the sky and appeared on the surface of the huge lake. When he flew to the center of the lake with extreme speed, a bone-chilling cold air gushed out from the surface of the lake and froze Yi Chunfeng. A large amount of ice quickly spread on the surface of his body. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. Yi Chunfeng slightly exerted force and shattered the ice that froze his body. At this time, incomparably sharp water spears broke out from the surface of the lake and attacked him with extreme speed. At the same time Yi Chunfeng was attacked by the water spears, 1-star ancestor realm holy spirits broke out from the surface of the lake and attacked Yi Chunfeng from all sides. They wanted to kill Yi Chunfeng, who had trespassed into their territory. Divine ability Tyrant Kick. Yi Chunfeng fiercely stepped out. The terrifying jumbo footprint carried the force of hundreds of millions of kilograms as it ruthlessly stomped on the attacking Ancestor Realm Holy Spirit. The terrifying force directly crushed the Ancestor Realm Holy Spirit. The difficulty has indeed increased by a lot. Feeling that the difficulty of challenging the Divine Spirit Pagoda had increased by more than 10 times, Yi Chunfeng was no longer as relaxed as he was at the beginning. He summoned his Ancestor Realm Sword Soul and controlled it to attack the densely packed Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits that had appeared on the surface of the lake. While Yi Chunfeng was crazily slaughtering on the 5th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, a monstrous wave suddenly surged on the Dead Sea. And in the center of the wave was a man who was completely enveloped in sacred light. His entire body was one with the world. What secret is hidden in this Dead Sea? The man floated above the Dead Sea and stared at the vast and boundless Dead Sea as he muttered to himself. In the next moment, the man took a step forward. With a single step, the entire Dead Sea surged with monstrous waves. A crack that stretched for an unknown distance spread into the distance at a speed that was difficult to discern with the naked eye, as if it wanted to tear the entire Dead Sea apart. All the demon beasts in the Dead Sea that haven't died, quickly come out. Tearing apart the endless Dead Sea with a single step, the man let out a dignified and irresistible voice. In the next moment, the demon beasts that were hiding in the depths of the Dead Sea emerged one after another. They popped out their incomparably huge heads and looked at the man who was enveloped in sacred light in horror, trembling. "Tell me, did a human enter the Dead Sea not long ago?" The man questioned sternly, "What other secrets are hidden in the Dead Sea?" Replying to Heavenly Man, "A human did come to the Dead Sea not long ago, but he was too fast. We don't know where he went, and we don't know what opportunities are hidden in the Dead Sea," a huge dragon-headed turtle said fearfully. "Forget it, it's useless to ask you. Let me search your souls," the man said impatiently. He used a great divine ability to restrict the terrifying demon beasts that popped out one by one and forcefully searched their souls. "You don't know." After searching their souls, the man didn't obtain much valuable information. He frowned slightly, waved his arm, and shattered the terrifying demon beasts one by one before walking into the Dead Sea. When he walked into the Dead Sea, the raging waves rolled violently. A vacuum appeared around him, and not a single drop of water dared to approach him. A great enemy had arrived. Chapter 1952. Die! Yi Chunfeng roared as the sword intent in his body instantly condensed, transforming into a crescent sword arc. With a long sword tail, he killed the last one-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirit on the 5th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, opening the exit to the 6th floor. Hoo-hoo! After forcefully killing 1,000 one-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits, Yi Chunfeng had expended a lot of energy. His entire body felt like it was about to collapse as the surface of his body was covered in wounds. Large amounts of blood flowed out, dyeing his clothes red. Due to the severe depletion of his ancestral power, Yi Chunfeng immediately recuperated at the end of the 5th floor, recovering his ancestral power. In about 3 days, Yi Chunfeng had recovered his ancestral power and injuries. He passed through the spatial exit and entered the even more dangerous 6th floor. Rumble, rumble! Endless thunder echoed in Yi Chunfeng's ears. As far as the eye could see, the 6th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda was like a lightning prison. Endless lightning bolts constantly fell from the void, bombarding the entire ground. Under the bombardment of the lightning bolts, the ground of the 6th floor was filled with electric currents. They were like electric snakes that attacked the ground. Invincible sword body! The Holy Spirits on the 6th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda had reached the 2-star Ancestor Realm. They brought quite a bit of trouble to Yi Chunfeng. He didn't dare to be careless as he quickly activated the invincible sword body and endured the attacks of the lightning bolts as he walked towards the 6th floor. Not long after, he discovered that a huge rock that was dozens of feet tall appeared in front of him. It was constantly swallowing the lightning bolt. Through the God-Eater brain's senses, he sensed a powerful life aura from the rock. Just as he was staring at the rock that was swallowing the lightning bolts, a dark purple lightning bolt suddenly broke out of the rock. It was like an angry dragon that attacked Yi Chunfeng. Ancestor-level sword soul break. As the dark purple lightning struck, Yi Chunfeng immediately summoned his ancestor-level sword soul to meet it. He broke through the dark purple lightning with a single sword strike and slashed at the huge rock without any reduction in power. Ka. Under the attack of the progenitor sword soul, cracks appeared on the rock. A shriveled old man dressed in animal skin flew out of the rock. His hair was messy like a bird's nest, and he attacked Yi Chunfeng with a powerful progenitor's might. 3-star ancestor. Sensing the strength of the old man, Yi Chunfeng guessed his identity. However, he did not show any mercy. Activating the invincible sword physique, a surge of sword intent gushed out from his body, crushing the layers of heavenly lightning. It was like a resplendent heavenly river, ruthlessly slashing toward the old man. Pooh! Under the attack of the invincible sword body, the old man's attack, which was condensed by the endless wild thunder, was broken. His shriveled body was also sent flying by this sword, falling hundreds of meters away. A large amount of blood flowed out from his body. After experiencing the terror of Yi Chunfeng, this old man, whose body was almost split in half, suddenly gave up on Yi Chunfeng and fled towards the depths of the Thunder Prison. Where do you think you're going? A virtual light flashed under Yi Chunfeng's feet. He stepped on the sword steps and chased closely behind. Rumble! Just as he closed the distance between him and the old man, endless thunder rumbled around him. A large number of 2-star ancestor realm holy spirits hidden in the Thunder Prison appeared, holding lightning weapons in their hands and attacking Yi Chunfeng. Invincible sword physique, annihilate all laws. Facing the sudden attack, Yi Chunfeng constantly activated the invincible sword physique, bursting out destructive sword light, forcibly breaking the attacks launched by the 2-star ancestor realm holy spirit. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng ignited his primordial bloodline, instantly raising his strength to that of a 4-star Dao ancestor. He erupted with nearly 1 trillion gene of strength and attacked the surrounding ancestor realm holy spirit. Bang bang bang! Under Yi Chunfeng's all-out attack, the bodies of the ancestor realm holy spirits exploded one after another, and the entire Thunder Prison fell into chaos. While Yi Chunfeng was crazily slaughtering the ancestor realm holy spirits, the old man, who was seriously injured and had fled, suddenly turned back. He erupted with the lightning power his body had devoured for hundreds of thousands of years, and launched a fatal attack at Yi Chunfeng. Godless sword. The old man transformed into a wave of lightning and attacked. Yi Chunfeng immediately controlled his ancestor realm sword soul to transform into a black divine sword. When he held the divine sword in his hand, the light in the entire space was instantly swallowed by the black divine sword, and the light in the entire space dimmed. With a thrust of the sword, heaven and earth became godless. The terrifying godless sword cut through the entire space, carrying with it a disdainful sword power. The sword tore through the roaring lightning and split the old man's body into 2 halves, killing him on the spot. After slashing at the old man, Yi Chunfeng immediately turned back and attacked the ancestor realm holy spirits behind him. With a single slash, he killed more than 10 ancestor realm holy spirits that wanted to sneak up on him. A merciless massacre took place on the 6th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Yi Chunfeng held the divine sword formed by his ancestor realm sword soul and constantly killed the ancestor realm holy spirits that appeared. However, his crazy massacre attracted almost all the ancestor realm holy spirits on the 6th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Attacks that blotted out the sky and covered the earth crazily attacked his body, worsening his injuries. If it wasn't for the invincible sword body being strong enough, Yi Chunfeng wouldn't have been able to withstand such a terrifying and concentrated attack. Kill, kill, kill. In order to save time, Yi Chunfeng didn't retreat. He was like a killing machine that didn't know exhaustion as he crazily killed. At the end of the massacre, Yi Chunfeng, whose injuries were getting worse, opened up his sword domain to reduce the pressure on his body. In the end, Yi Chunfeng only used a little more than a day to kill 1,000 two-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits on the 6th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Such a terrifying killing speed completely stunned the old man guarding outside, causing him to be unable to calm down for a long time. Amazing! This inheritor is really too amazing. In just 5 days, he passed the first 6 floors of the Divine Spirit Pagoda's test. Junior, I hope you can really pass all the tests. Then, I can die in peace. The old man was looking forward to Yi Chunfeng's following performance. He thought more and more highly of him. After the crazy massacre, Yi Chunfeng's injuries were also very serious. However, he didn't feel tired after burning his primordial bloodline. He simply adjusted his breathing and passed through the spatial entrance, entering the 7th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. As the Holy Spirits became stronger, the pressure on him also increased. In order to buy more time to tangle with the Holy Spirits on the last 2 floors of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, Yi Chunfeng had to race against time and save as much time as possible. Otherwise, he would still fail when the 1-year deadline was up. Snow. It was snowing heavily all over the place. After stepping onto the 7th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, Yi Chunfeng saw that it was a world of ice and snow. Although the world of ice and snow didn't affect Yi Chunfeng much, it was very easy to hide in the snow. This greatly increased the chances of the 3-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits launching a sneak attack on Yi Chunfeng. Come out, all of you! Stop hiding! Yi Chunfeng didn't conceal his aura. Instead, he directly flew into the sky above the world of ice and snow and spoke in a domineering voice. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After being provoked by Yi Chunfeng, the 3-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits hidden in the thick snow revealed themselves. They mobilized powerful cold air and attacked Yi Chunfeng. 3,000 God-transforming fists. Dozens of 3-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits attacked with powerful cold air. Yi Chunfeng immediately blasted out the 3,000 God-transforming fists. It was like a meteor shower that descended from the sky and met them head-on. Although the Holy Spirits in the Divine Spirit Pagoda were powerful, their defensive power was very weak. They were far inferior to the almighty experts of various clans. Under the attack of Yi Chunfeng's supreme divine ability and the 3,000 God-transforming fists, the dozens of 3-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits instantly exploded into clouds of cold air that drifted away with the wind. After killing dozens of Holy Spirits with one strike, a large number of Holy Spirits flew toward Yi Chunfeng and launched fierce attacks on him. From afar, the densely packed Holy Spirits were like moths to a flame. They attacked Yi Chunfeng without any regard for their lives. They were determined to kill him. Yi Chunfeng didn't retreat even after enduring the attacks of nearly 1,000 Holy Spirit. He opened up his sword domain and continuously blasted out supreme divine abilities to kill the remaining Holy Spirits. Time also passed by in this frenzied slaughter. The frenzied slaughter became more and more intense. Yi Chunfeng's injuries also continued to worsen in the midst of this frenzied slaughter. Under his relentless attacks, the number of Holy Spirits on the 7th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda decreased. Chapter 1953. 10 days later, Yi Chunfeng healed his injuries and adjusted his condition to its peak. He passed through the spatial entrance and entered the 8th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. The Holy Spirits in the 8th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda possessed the strength of a 4-star Ancestor realm. They posed an extremely great challenge to Yi Chunfeng. He also did not dare to think about provoking all the Holy Spirits in the entire space without the slightest scruple like before. He could only choose the strategy of defeating them one by one. Wind, what a strong wind! Entering the 8th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, Yi Chunfeng discovered that the entire space was swept up by an endless gale, kicking up endless yellow sand, blocking his line of sight. Although fighting in the gale space would affect his combat power to a certain extent, it was beneficial to his strategy of defeating them one by one. Swoosh! Yi Chunfeng's figure flashed slightly and merged into the gale. He restrained his aura and advanced like a ghost. There are 3 holy spirits over there. Although the holy spirits concealed themselves very well, under the God-Eater brain's perception, there was nowhere to hide. Yi Chunfeng easily discovered the 3 4-star Ancestor Realm holy spirits hiding in the gale. Stun Art. With a thought from Yi Chunfeng, a powerful soul force erupted, forming a terrifying stun art, bombarding the 3 4-star Ancestor Realm holy spirit. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Being attacked by Yi Chunfeng's stun art, the consciousness of the 3 4-star Ancestor Realm holy spirits trembled. In the next moment, the Ancestor-level sword soul flew out under Yi Chunfeng's control, easily breaking through the defense and splitting the bodies of the 3 4-star Ancestor Realm holy spirits apart. After killing the 3 Ancestor Realm holy spirits in one strike, Yi Chunfeng followed the hurricane that engulfed heaven and earth and disappeared into the distance, searching for the next target. Very soon, he discovered several more Ancestor Realm holy spirits and repeated the same trick, using the same method to kill them one by one. Day after day passed. Yi Chunfeng was like a killer as he roamed the 8th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, using unfathomable killing techniques to constantly kill 4-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirit. When Yi Chunfeng had killed more than 300 4-star Progenitor Realm Holy Spirits in 10 days or so, 2 old women with snow-white hair and wrinkled faces who resembled each other and seemed to be sisters noticed Yi Chunfeng's presence. Next, the 2 of them let out 2 ear-piercing screams that alarmed the 8th level of the Divine Spirit Tower. Inheritor, give me your life. In order to obtain the right to challenge the Divine Spirit Tower again, the 2 white-haired old women flew into the sky and used the powerful hurricane power to attack Yi Chunfeng. 2 5-star heavenly ancestors. Sensing the strength of the 2 white-haired old women, Yi Chunfeng frowned slightly. He was shocked that the old guard outside actually allowed the people of the Tian clan to challenge the Divine Spirit Tower. Despite his shock, he did not slow down his attacks. He took a step forward and activated the sword territory, instantly shattering the attacks of the 2 white-haired old women and engulfing them in the sword territory. Territory, this is the power of a territory. You're not a virtual god. How can you control the power of a territory? The 2 white-haired old women were shocked and said in disbelief. Sword territory, kill. Yi Chunfeng did not waste time with them. He controlled the sword territory to kill the 2 white-haired old women, wanting to kill them before a large number of holy spirits surrounded them. Although the sword territory was powerful, the 2 white-haired old women's strength was equally terrifying. They used all their skills to desperately resist the sword territory's attack and stall for time. Ancestor-level sword soul, destroy. Yi Chunfeng controlled the Ancestor-level sword soul to break into the sword territory and merged with the power of the sword territory to attack the 2 white-haired old women. The 2 of them were already struggling to resist the sword territory. Now that they were attacked by the Ancestor-level sword soul, it was even more difficult to resist. In an instant, the 2 of them were pierced by the Ancestor-level sword soul and were killed by the sword territory. Not good. Although he had killed the 2 white-haired old women, he had also exposed his whereabouts and was surrounded by hundreds of Ancestor-level Holy Spirit. Helpless, Yi Chunfeng could only summon the Chaos Divine Wood and raise his combat strength to the limit. He faced the tide of Holy Spirits and fought fiercely with them. The Holy Spirits on the 8th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda had reached the 4-star Ancestor Realm, which was far beyond Yi Chunfeng's own realm. Facing the simultaneous attack of hundreds of holy spirits, Yi Chunfeng was under great pressure and encountered great trouble. Even if he opened the sword territory, he could not withstand the simultaneous attack of hundreds of holy spirits. Cracks appeared on the surface of the sword territory, causing Yi Chunfeng to bear great pressure. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. "Chaos divine wood, break for me!" His injuries continued to worsen. Yi Chunfeng forcefully suppressed the heavy injuries on his body and controlled the Chaos Divine Wood to attack fiercely. The Chaos 5 Elements light swayed as he forcefully tore open a gap in the overlapping holy spirits and fled into the distance in a sorry state. Yi Chunfeng fled with all his might as a large number of holy spirits chased after him. While fleeing, Yi Chunfeng deliberately slowed down and controlled the ancestor-level sword soul to attack fiercely, constantly killing the holy spirits that were chasing after him. Sigh, now that I've reached the 9th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, I have to change my strategy. I'll first kill the inheritors on the 9th floor who haven't died, then slowly deal with the holy spirits. Otherwise, if I'm chased by 1,000 5-star ancestor realm holy spirits, no matter how deep my foundation is, I'm afraid it will end in a tragedy. Yi Chunfeng muttered in his heart in a sorry state. Although he was in a sorry state on the 8th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, the lesson this time was a wake-up call for him. It was not a bad thing for him. Time passed day by day and soon a month had passed. In this 1 month's time, Yi Chunfeng, who was fleeing and killing crazily, had successfully killed close to 900 holy spirits. However, as the Grand Mist Bloodline's amplification effect disappeared for a period of time, Yi Chunfeng suffered heavy injuries. His physical body was severely injured. "It's time to fight to the death with all of you." Looking at the remaining 100 over 4-star ancestor realm holy spirits, Yi Chunfeng once again ignited his Grand Mist Bloodline and opened his powerful sword domain to meet the holy spirits head-on, engaging them in a fierce battle. Although there were only slightly over 100 holy spirits left on the 8th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, due to their terrifying strength, they still brought a lot of trouble to Yi Chunfeng. However, under the attacks of the Chaos Divine Wood and Sword Domain, the 4-star ancestor realm holy spirits were annihilated one after another. In the midst of the frenzied slaughter, Yi Chunfeng's injuries became more and more serious. 3,000 transforming God's fist. One sword without gods. Boundless chaos. Yi Chunfeng ignored his injuries and repeatedly used supreme divine abilities to attack the 4-star ancestor realm holy spirits with all his might. Finally, he used almost all his trump cards and finally killed all the holy spirits on the 8th floor of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, opening the path to the 9th floor. Huff, huff. Yi Chunfeng, who was riddled with injuries, glanced at the cracked space exit. His body went limp and fell to the cracked ground, panting heavily with lingering fear. Although Yi Chunfeng's injuries were very serious, the month of life and death tempering had completely eliminated the pill poison in his body and strengthened his cultivation foundation. In 2 months, he passed the challenge of the first 8 floors of the Divine Spirit Pagoda. Such a battle record is really terrifying. Through the mirror image, looking at the severely injured Yi Chunfeng lying on the ground, the old man shook his head and sighed with emotion. Chapter 1954. So bright. After entering the 9th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, Yi Chunfeng discovered that the entire 9th level was illuminated by a blinding light. The light was so bright that he could not open his eyes. Space of light. Yi Chunfeng did not expect the 9th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda to be a space of light. He revealed a grave expression. This was because the space of light greatly increased the difficulty of his concealment. After thinking for a while, Yi Chunfeng immediately split into 3 mirror avatars. He planned to use the mirror avatars to attract the attention of the 9th level Saint Spirit and create an opportunity for himself to kill. I wonder how many inheritors are still alive on the 9th level. Yi Chunfeng hid under a huge boulder as he controlled the God-Eater brain to rapidly deduce and sense the inheritors on the 9th level. The God-Eater brain had devoured a large number of souls and heavenly Tao souls. It was on the verge of transformation, and its perception was even stronger. Yi Chunfeng carefully moved as he controlled the God-Eater brain to move at the edge of the 9th level. After several days of sensing, he was basically certain that there were 4 inheritors on the 9th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda who had not died back then. Among the 4, 2 of them had reached the 6-star progenitor realm, while the remaining 2 were at the peak of the 5-star progenitor realm. Let's kill these 4 first. After confirming the location of the 4, Yi Chunfeng immediately came up with a plan to assassinate them. He quietly lurked and approached one of the peak 5-star progenitor realm expert. Yi Chunfeng's body flowed with mirage blood, so his concealment ability was extremely strong. He concealed his aura and crawled in the space of light for more than an hour before approaching the motionless white-haired old woman who was sitting cross-legged under an ancient tree like a statue. Vertigo art. As he approached the white-haired old woman, Yi Chunfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce at an extremely fast speed, forming a strong dizziness. He ruthlessly bombarded the white-haired old woman's soul sea, causing her brain to temporarily lose consciousness. Although the white-haired old woman regained consciousness in a short period of time, this short pause was fatal. Yi Chunfeng burned his primordial blood and activated his invincible sword body, instantly raising his attack power to the limit. With an ancestor-level sword soul in hand, he stabbed at the white-haired old woman. Chi. Unable to dodge in time, the white-haired old woman's defense was broken. The terrifying ancestral sword soul directly tore through her body, cleaving her in half. Her soul was instantly crushed, and she died on the spot. After successfully assassinating the white-haired old woman, Yi Chunfeng did not linger. He immediately fled and approached his next target. After around a day or so, Yi Chunfeng, who was slowly approaching like a venomous snake, had launched a sure-kill strike at another peak 5-star ancestor realm expert. Following that, a painful muffled roar sounded. A peak 5-star ancestor realm major power was insta-killed by Yi Chunfeng with one sword, dying on the spot. Phew, success. After successfully killing 2 people, Yi Chunfeng immediately fled and approached his next target. It was easy to assassinate a peak 5-star ancestor realm expert, but it was very difficult to assassinate a 6-star ancestor realm expert. This was because the defense that trapped the inheritor in the Divine Spirit Pagoda was not something the Sacred Spirit Pagoda could compare to. Furthermore, to be able to reach the 9th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, it was enough to show that his talent and strength were astonishing, and he also possessed a powerful trump card. Furthermore, if Yi Chunfeng failed in the assassination, it was very likely that he would alert the enemy, and the consequences would be too severe. Opportunity, I have to wait for the best opportunity. Yi Chunfeng concealed his aura and slowly approached the 6-star ancestor realm major power, who was sitting cross-legged under a huge boulder. His entire body seemed to have fused with the boulder, and there was no distinction between them. Stone Tribe Major Power. With the God-Eater brain's senses, Yi Chunfeng discovered that the old man before him was very likely to be a Stone Tribe Major Power. Although the Stone Tribe was not fast, their attack and defense were extremely shocking, especially their defense, which was even more terrifying. To penetrate the Stone Tribe Major Power's defense, one had to possess extremely powerful attack power. After locking onto his target, Yi Chunfeng was not in a hurry to make a move. He concealed his aura and hid in the dark, observing the Stone Tribe Major Power through the God-Eater brain, looking for the best opportunity to assassinate him. 1 day, 2 days, 4 days, 6 days, Yi Chunfeng hid in the dark, not moving at all, patiently waiting for an opportunity. Finally, after waiting for about 7 days, he felt a subtle change in the Stone Tribe Major Power's body. Capturing this subtle change, the God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, released a powerful soul power, forming a heavy hammer of dizziness that ruthlessly smashed into the Stone Tribe Major Power's soul sea. Godless Sword. When Yi Chunfeng blasted out the dizziness technique, his entire body transformed into an invincible divine sword. With a sword, he tore through space and evolved an invincible Tao intent, stabbing into the Stone Tribe Major Power's body, forcibly tearing through his body's defense and piercing through his body. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng opened up his invincible sword intent and controlled a powerful domain power to attack the Stone Tribe Major Power. He borrowed the domain power to shatter his body, killing him on the spot. When Yi Chunfeng instantly killed the Stone Tribe Major Power, it alarmed the 4 5-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits nearby. Without waiting for them to launch an attack, the extremely fast Yi Chunfeng controlled his ancestral sword soul to attack while evolving an extreme sword light, instantly killing the 4 5-star Ancestor Realm Holy Spirits whose defenses were not strong. He then hid in the light space and disappeared. Phew, that was close. After successfully killing the Stone Tribe Major Power, Yi Chunfeng let out a long sigh of relief, but there was still lingering fear in his heart. There's still one 6-star Ancestor Realm expert left. Once I kill him, I'll be able to engage in guerrilla warfare with the divine spirits in the 9th floor without worry. Yi Chunfeng muttered to himself as he quietly approached the last surviving inheritor. On the tree. After approaching the last inheritor, Yi Chunfeng discovered that he was sitting cross-legged on a lush ancient tree, and around the ancient tree were nearly 10 holy spirits hidden. If Yi Chunfeng forcefully assassinated this inheritor, it was very likely that he would alarm the 10 holy spirits, resulting in unbearable consequences. But if he did not assassinate the last inheritor, the threat would be even greater. Looks like I can only take the risk. After pondering, Yi Chunfeng decided to carry out his plan and take the risk to assassinate. Mirror Image Avatar, move out. With a thought, Yi Chunfeng gave an order to one of his mirror image doppelgangers. He ordered it to attack the Holy Spirit closest to him and alert the inheritor hiding on the ancient tree. When the mirror image avatar attacked the Holy Spirit, it immediately caused chaos in the 9th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda, alarming the inheritor on the ancient tree. As for the 10 holy spirits around the ancient tree, they were attracted by the mirror image avatar and immediately rushed over, allowing Yi Chunfeng to let out a long sigh of relief. Swish! An ear-piercing sound tore through the air. The inheritor looked at the chaotic space in the distance and immediately leaped out of the ancient tree to rush over to check out the situation. But the moment he leaped off the ancient tree, Yi Chunfeng, who had been waiting for an opportunity, launched a fatal attack at him. Not good. The 6-star Progenitor Realm Inheritor did not expect an exceptional expert to be hiding around the ancient tree. He was alarmed and immediately defended. However, the power of the Domain of Swords was too terrifying. Under the attack of the Domain of Swords, the heir's defense was immediately broken. The ancestral level sword spirit and Yi Chunfeng's sword slashed out a peerless sword ray that struck his body one after another. Bam! The last inheritor did not even have time to let out a cry of horror before he was instantly killed by Yi Chunfeng's consecutive attacks. He turned into a cloud of blood mist in midair and died on the spot. When Yi Chunfeng killed the last inheritor, his first mirror image avatar was also killed by a large number of Holy Spirit. But at this moment, Yi Chunfeng had already concealed himself, so the Holy Spirits on the 9th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda did not discover him. Slowly, the 9th level of the Divine Spirit Pagoda regained its peace.